Brother James say he is eating hockey puck sausage and pancakes. There you go. uh, yeah, I can't wait till the weekend. Twins lost, but Braxton hit a 460 some foot homer tonight. So I think they lost. I didn't see the score, but I don't bet on baseball. There are too many variables. But I'm gonna tell you who they were scared of and why they banned him. Pete Rose was probably the best, even though when Pete Rose got caught for betting on baseball, he wasn't betting on his team. He was betting on other teams. But Pete Rose was an expert. And again, he comes from the consciousness of the shit's fixed. He knows that. But Pete Rose, they was scared of Pete Rose as a handicapper. Still are. He's still one of the best handicappers. So, but let's get into it. Let's get into it. Giving high vibes to everybody. Wow. Well, I am Eight Wind is Timeless, and this is the Chocolate Mountain Show. It's all started with a gentle sadness. I am the I am the holder of the continuous ball game of the Hero Twins. I am the Galactic Daddy-O sitting on my galactic patio from Minneapolis to the universe. These damn things are too damn hot to be wearing, unless I'm talking to someone. And so tonight again, Sierra Nevada, Winterland, Wonderland, Wonderland, Hazy IP, Nectarine Ale. It's a hazy IP. So going back to how I originally did it, pop them if you got them, smoke them if you want them. Oh, my glass is horribly dirty. I didn't dry it. Washed it without drying it. So let's get this off the screen. So the one, what's happening? I hit my money line parlay for up to 300. That is sweet. Yes, the one, Aggie Pride. And again, we're gonna do the acid blondie. Let me tell y'all. So got done with the show last night. Didn't meditate. Normally, if I drink, I don't meditate. And I drank a couple beers during the show, so it kind of throws the meditation off for me. Went to bed. Yeah. It got, now I didn't turn my heat on. It was in the, like right now, it's in the 30s here. It's 30s outside. I just picked up my son. It's chilly. Jacket, like hoodie definitely. Man, it got down because I thought it was rather cold, and I wear pajamas or bottoms at least. And man, I woke up and I knew it had to be cold because my sniffles. I had the sniffles, and it was 19 above last night. I knew it got cold. Now the warm weather's about to come in now, but it was real deal cold last night, y'all. I can see the way my plants they're reacting, especially this one. It had one leaf all the way up, and I'm gonna have to shift it to this lower table just because it's going to touch the ceiling. But this cold came back in, and I noticed they kind of curled up. And I didn't turn the heat on. Again, in the 30s here, we don't really turn the heat on. I could tell my neighbor had the heat on. So, hey, T-Bull, thank you. Greg Deep, thank you. What did you say? Where did you get your style from? Your gear is always fly. I don't know. I just always paid attention. Like this stuff here, this is like all sewn in. That's all sewn, all this. And this is Champion. This here is Champion. I mean, people don't understand. This is Champion. But I don't know. I just always, like I've been wearing sweat stuff. Like Champion was one of the first, Champion and Russell are probably the first two that really concentrated and made sweat clothes. And always playing ball, I mean, you know, it was just more convenient when you played ball to dress, especially when you hoop. And so I think the first really designer shit I bought was probably Laporte's Sportif. If anybody goes back to the I Need Love video with LL. And just always bought sweatsuits. I had a friend, check this out. He did it. I had a friend that lived in LA, and I don't know how he stole the shit. He claimed he went into the place and just grabbed a handful of Adidas sweatsuits, and then he left. He had my best friend from Michigan went to college with me. His father was one of the professors and his stepmother. He begged me to wear a pair of my Levi's. We would switch. He would give me this sweatsuit, and it was the Adidas, and they remake these now, but it was the Adidas bottoms with it had the dark blue sleeves with the kind of cream color in here, but all blue bottoms. And this cat had a bunch of that stuff, and just always wore that stuff. I just always kind of like clothes. Normalize. Oh, okay. Yeah. Read my soul. Thank you for joining me. Brookline G should be definite all around guilty, if not proof, then they are rigging all the system, doing side violence intention. But remember, you got to remember, they gave him 27 million. That's why they did it beforehand. That is why they did it beforehand. So keep that in mind. They had Courtney on there today. Now, see, think about it like this. Courtney ain't feeling good. Courtney didn't get any of the bread. So you know Courtney ain't got nothing good to say about both their addictions. Courtney didn't get any of the bread. Now, in fact, I was the only one on my other channel to put Courtney on TV. Or I'm not going to say put on TV, but show that Courtney existed. Because once the brother came in, they was giving all them that money. The mother came in with the daughter that I was talking about. She put more money in her nails than in her weave. Courtney was cut out. So what kind of witness did y'all think Courtney was today? They're going to call Courtney again because Courtney didn't even get her 15 minutes of fame. Courtney got her 2 minutes. They ignored Courtney. So Courtney is going to be for the defense because they cut her off. Shout out to Michigan. Flint in the building. Hey, T-Bull. Yeah, my cousin is from Flint. My cousin Ricky Ampey. He went to Flint Northern, maybe? Yeah, she was bitter. Yeah. Hey, YT, thank you. YT0101, thank you. The evidence looks like it is setting up for acquittal to create the most chaos. Yeah, she was bitter because she didn't get none of that bread. And I don't know if the family reached out to her and hit her off, because that's what a Mac would do, is you would have hit her off. I don't think they did that. And she was ignored, other than the local TV station showed her, but that was it. And then I showed her, but I was the only, I think, YouTube person that put Courtney on. And that was on my other channel before they took it down. That's a good point. James says, what do I think about the NCAA players lawsuit against the NCAA? It don't go far enough. It really don't go far enough. So what they've done is they've allowed, the last 10 years, they pretty much allowed stipends. Now, Michigan State has always been pretty much a corrupt school years ago. Years ago, it was like, you got a touchdown, you was going to get a car. Magic went to very little classes. I know I was down there. I was back and forth all through Lansing when Magic was in school. So he was kind of carried through, but and paid on the side. Now I was, let me see, how do I want to say this? It's a long time ago. I was at a dinner one time, and it was a state senator that gave me an envelope and gave my friend an envelope. And he was more cool with my friend. He invited my friend. My friend didn't want to go by himself. He's like, man, they said I can bring somebody with me. You want to go? And we went to his mansion. He gave us both of us money. So we're saying that they're going to get paid for jerseys. They're going to get paid for likenesses, which goes into the video game. But really, see, this is what their excuse is for so much control. As I broke down before, if you went to all 64 compared to the billions they make, it was all the scholarships is what did I come up with the other week or two? 3-4 million at the most. You took all 64 teams and rolled in all their scholarships. It was only millions. So you barely giving them like a 1%, 2% out of a billion. So it's still, so the scholarship thing is bullshit. If you're making $1 billion and you only paying millions, not hundreds of millions, less than 10 for all scholarship athletes, for all 64 teams that make it, you making $1 billion. So no, they're not getting paid. They should. It's already a minor professional league. The rest of the world does that. We're the only country that doesn't even, they pay high school people over in Europe. Those leagues, they don't have high school basketball over there. That's what the Balls did. The Balls joined like a high school level league, or he bought it, whatever he called himself doing. So that's what's going to have to happen. But see, this is the problem. Girls ain't going to be able to get paid because they don't generate money. So Title IX is what they're considering. So how can you pay the men, because the men make the money, but you're not paying the women teams? That's the problem that they're facing. Title IX is stopping it, because Title IX says if you're going to give so much to the men, you got to pay the women too. But that's the shit the NCAA, that's what they're buying by. So they're going to end up having to pay the players. It's going to be another minor league. I mean, look at the racist shit they did with the Prop 48 to hold people to play. Because once they put in that you can go straight to the pros, because that should have been stuck down. Basketball, football. Now, football, you can't go from high school to pro. Your body's just not big enough. I only knew of one person that did. He played in the World Football League that only played 7 or 8 games. He went from high school right to the pro. Most people, your body just can't do it in football. Hooping, though, is very different. You can take an 8th grade. Like I was mentioning, when my son was in 5th grade, he played in a JV tournament. So you can go up and down with pretty much anybody. And that's the thing about basketball. So they're going to have to pay them. I mean, they're getting paid under the table, and it's either you're going to make it bootleg or you're going to pay them. So might as well pay them. Oh, you went to Flint Northern too. Oh, you probably know the Smiths. Suge, Big Suge. Suge played here. Was Suge's name Fernando Smith, or was that the brother? So you probably know them. I knew my cousin knew the Breeds, like MC Breeds. He knew the other Breeds. He knew them. So yeah, my cousin knew a lot of dudes. Trying to think of Banks, right? It was played Chip Banks. I think it's from Flint too. So I knew a lot of cats through my cousin. More money. My pockets like sunshine, always sunny. I told that to my nephew today, and he said, "Say it again, Auntie. That's funny." They say Buddy died from COVID. Wow. Hey, Barbara, thank you for joining me. That is sweet, Valerie. That's Esham, though. And I can't find that song. I've been looking for that song, and I can't find it. Because that song has to be from, 93? It maybe sooner. Yeah, the videos that use their likeness is making a killing, yeah. That's going to be the problem, for sure. Giving them pennies on the dollar. Did you see the NFL is going to 17 games? Yeah, I talked about that yesterday. It's going to add 2 players though, 2 more positions. So it's going to be I think it's a total of 4 extra people because you get. So what they're going to do is give 2 more practice players and 2 more players that play. So I think four players total, because they were saying it was going to be 8 players added, 4 more practice players, and 4 more to the squad. I think was what I heard. But I know it's going to give for sure 2 more jobs. But I think they said they were going to add 2 more practice players too. So I think it's cool. Oh, Teepa, you're 40. Oh yeah, you'd be quite a bit younger than us. Yeah, you would know Suge then. Fernando Smith, you should know him. You should know Fernando. Fernando got to be around there. The one that played, well, Cleaves. You got to know Cleaves too. You know Cleaves? Cleaves probably in his mid-40s or something. I knew the Smiths. MC Breed, they older than me though. Okay, you knew the Smiths. Yeah, they older than you. Okay. Yeah. But I've met a couple of the Breeds because I used to go down there. Flint used to be a beautiful city. I mean, people just used to be a really beautiful city. I remember before they closed the GM plant, it was one of the most beautiful cities in Michigan. Yeah. And allowed to be destroyed. But yeah, my cousin grew up there, so I always went down there. Yeah, Breed was my dude too. He said, shine him up good, going through my neighborhood. There's only a couple movies that played that. It's effective. They're admitting the COVID vax is effective for 6 months. Yeah, so they say. Is Flint the only city with the bad water? No, it's a lot of cities like that. That's the only one that they publicize, but there's a lot of water like that. A lot of cities got bad water. I know where my family is from in Michigan, they went under for a month or so having to boil their water. The thing is taking showers and shit. That's what fucks you up. It's taking showers. That becomes the problem, is the showers and stuff. So, yep. But there's other cities. It's other cities with bad water. You catch it all the time if you pay attention. Yeah, there's other cities. It's just Flint got the publicity, but there's a lot of cities that always get where they have to boil water. And you technically, when they say boil water, don't take showers in it. I mean, as I've said, since I moved away from a house, my water is hard, and I know what it's doing to my skin. Yeah, get the itch and shit. So there's plenty of cities that have bad water, and it's like what's acceptable. That's the thing. That's how they get people, is what's acceptable. What, you couldn't kick anybody out?
Huh?
What, you lost your vape?
No. Oh no, that's not what I need the computer for.
What are you taking my keys for? You taking the car?
No. I was gonna look for Sean's wallet.
What? He lost his wallet. Why don't they show it on the news, Valerie? My water dries your face up. There you go, Normalize. Ain't no future in your front, and came on XM earlier today. Oh, that's one of my cuts. But James, they do. What about Texas water? Interesting, T-Bull. Barkley said, pay all the players $1 million and he'll let them use his likeness. He refuses to let them use him. There you go. That's a good point. I've never heard that. No, Valerie, you're right. Flint is the most publicized, but it's a lot of cities that you see. If you just catch all reports, I can't say catch it, but you can see reports. And me, again, having the background in the water department and in the water system, I've always listened to that. And you just it always comes up, cities or people. Facebook is a great way to people's like, hey, our water's bad. What are they doing about it? And so people report that a lot too. So you see a lot of inner cities. And what you have to understand is the water system that we live on is over 100 years. Most water and sewer treatment plants, not to say they're not state of the art new, but again, this is not new technology other than the automation. So you want to say the last 50 years you've had automated water and sewers, but a lot of it, same old cast iron pipes, Depending on the age of your house, is the copper coming into your house? How old is it? What kind of lines do you have in your house? A lot of people have the old cast iron pipes in their house still. You have an older house and you haven't upgraded to all copper. These are older systems. That was the problem with Flint. Flint had a lot of houses that had the old system. And they were going to be able to switch to the Flint River fine, but they didn't put the chemicals because the chemicals would have treated the compatibility in the pipes. And that's what wasn't done. And they sold the line to someone else until they were forced to buy it back from the people. But just there's a lot of cities that suffer with this problem. And sometimes it's not as long. And I guess that's where Valerie was right. For long term, there's not as long term. But there's a couple cities that if you look it up that have the long term problem, but not a whole lot. So Valerie was right in that regard. It got coverage for a little while, then it disappeared. There you go, Valerie. Not many cared when it's low income housing. And then another thing they did in Flint is, what did they call it? Something 21, where they had war games. They had war games outside of Flint, where the people was hearing the bombs going off and shit. You know, war games. Flint is what was a very big city. Flint was, I think, either in front of Grand Rapids at its peak or right behind Grand Rapids, as being the second or third biggest city in Detroit. Arizona water itches and burns skins, feels like Tabasco sauce. Okay, Barbara. The pipes. Yeah, it's if you got old pipes in your system, that's another thing and it's costly to get that cast iron out of your house. It's costly. It's better if you had all copper system, but most people, if you got that in your house already, most people ain't going to switch. So I am with Barkley on the one because they have been getting over for years with this. Yes, they have. There's a movie with Queen Latifah I saw based on the Flint water crisis. Interesting. But yeah, getting back to the, college players getting paid. I mean, like I've told the story before. If it wasn't for frats selling Krispy Kreme donuts for 50 cents and you get 13, it's nights I'd have starved and I ate all three meals. I ate all 3 meals at college. I was one of the few that would get up and go eat breakfast. That's what I was known for. I was the alarm clock. My 3 years, I was everybody's alarm clock because I got up. I was that disciplined. I might not go to class. If I didn't go to class, I would still go eat and go back to bed. My favorite thing when football season was to go eat, go lay back to bed, smoke a joint, and watch Saturday cartoons. When they had Mork the Ork and they had Fonzie in Cartoonland. That used to be my fun thing my freshman year. And I think I was still on a black and white TV back then. But I would get really hungry at night. And then, it was like be teased by Burger King, and we can't get any money. Now, our coaches did what other teams' coaches did. And I've told the example of North Carolina State. When I was a freshman, 2 North Carolina State players. One played with Milwaukee. Hawkeye Whitley played he played briefly for Milwaukee. Clyde the Glide Austin was a Globetrotter. They was driving brand new Cadillacs, living in townhouses. They had their bedrooms was bigger than what me and another dude was in. When I met Sidney Lowe and Wittenberg, they was living in townhouses. I was living in, the worst conditions compared to them. So they've been getting money, but it's all been pretty much under the table. But now they get a stipend. So you can go get a pizza, but it's still not the same. So they're going to have to drop some real bread. Hey, Unique Breed, thank you for joining me. Roy Williams was a good coach. Was Roy Williams a good coach? I mean, Roy Williams came under Dean Smith. So when Dean Smith lost to Marquette, Roy was there. When they lost to Marquette, they lost to Indiana with Isaiah Thomas, and then he won. Dean Smith won 2, and Roy Williams was with him. And then Roy Williams was at Kansas. I believe Roy Williams was replaced by Larry Brown, or maybe Roy Williams replaced Larry Brown. When Larry Brown went to the NBA, Roy Williams went. But And it was interesting seeing Keith McCants because they were kind of showing his life. And I forgot Keith McCants was a cat that got blackballed. Never found out what he did, but they blackballed him from the league. So he was a good coach. I mean, Dean Smith, Dean Smith from the Dean Smith line, which went back to kind of Al McGuire and his brother, because one of the McGuires coached at Marquette, but the other McGuire, I think, was before Krzyzewski. I think it was McGuire that coached at Duke. It was two brothers. It was Al McGuire. I can't think of the other McGuire. Al McGuire won the championship, and then he died of some disease. Duke might have won a championship under his brother, so I'm not sure. I have to look it up. The Lakers. Who's going? I heard some athletes said they had nights where they went to bed hungry. Athletes should have cafeteria privileges 24/7. And that's the thing, what they did is they started building athletic dorms, and athletic dorms would lead that. If you was in the athletic dorms and all your training facilities is there, you would have that opportunity to have some food. It was like one time I was sick. I didn't even have any cough medicine to get anything. I kept going to the local thing on campus and I wasn't getting any better. And then finally my coach was like, he heard me having a sniffle. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I went there and they won't give me anything." He gave me some money. And then my coach would give me money. And then I had, like I mentioned, the state senator gave me money one time. Then I had a family that kind of supported me. So if I was broke, I would get money from my family. I had a support group there. Because matter of fact, this support group, actually, that's how I got to working for the water department in the summers. So my sophomore year was just me. And then my next year, my friends, he was like, "Does any of your friends, that play football want jobs?" And I got 3 of my friends hired. So it was 4 of us that got jobs because of my connection to somebody. And so they made good money all summer. And then when I, quit playing football, I started working for the water department. Who's going to the finals? Well, as I said before, I go by the TV ratings and I look at the audience. And the highest rated game still right now is the Lakers and the 76ers that played right after Christmas. So I picked Utah just because, again, I also look at the positive and negatives of each player. But now it is still seeming like it's lining up to be the Sixers. Oh, and this was what's interesting, because LeBron's hurt and because the Embiid's hurt. I don't know if people caught Reggie Miller capping or Patricia or trying to favor the Joker. He's like, "Well, Joker is the clear MVP favorite right now." Get out of here with that shit. But that's what he did. So that's who I'm looking at. Nets, Lakers. I don't know. I still do not think they're going to let James Harden win a title. I just don't think they are. I think that they're not going to win a title, and then they're going to get rid of Harden and then maybe win a title. But as long as he's there, I watched the game tonight. I liked the flow of everybody. It was just Kyrie and him, though. It wasn't the rest of them cats. Harden didn't play. Now Durant got a hamstring problem. So I still like the numbers on Utah, but it's hard to ignore the ratings for Philadelphia and the Lakers. And that weighs heavily to the ones that plan. Rima, so we got championships. Yep, we do. Scripted championships. There you go, Unique. Does anyone believe LeBron's injuries because he got hurt right before women were coming out saying that he gave them some lip service? Oh, interesting. I haven't heard that one either, Valerie. I haven't heard that either. They're going to injure KD and Harden in the playoffs. That wouldn't surprise me. Nets versus Lakers next year. This year would be 70. Yeah, I think so, T-Ball. That's what I'm thinking. I think just the ratings is hard to beat. Durant for a Michael Rappaport problem, too. That's a distraction, but it's a way to take away some notoriety, too. Because that's what they try to do. They try to rate, because Durant won his championship, so Durant is basically a positive, and they're trying to turn his positive into a negative. And so that's kind of how they do it. Because if you don't think ratings, the only time they didn't really care about ratings was agenda driven. And that was when they was pushing, again, the European players with San Antonio. That was agenda driven. That is the time where they ignore ratings. So, and like somebody corrected me, yes, the when the Pistons beat Shaq and Kobe, it was 5 games and not 4. Yeah. Well, I was surprised they won the first game. I remember riding home listening to it. I was quite surprised. Quite surprised. So yeah. We're not gonna attack anybody. We're not gonna attack anybody. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. So please don't attack T-Bull. Woke. Don't attack him. Well, okay. If he comes out to be an agent, I'm a big boy. Do I got Gonzaga? I don't. I think they might let Baylor win it. They're not going to let Houston win it. They're not going to let Houston win it. They're just not. Gonzaga, I just don't. With the being a mid-major, I don't think they want a mid-major to win it. I think the last mid-major to win it, and I mean a true mid-major, Villanova's not a mid-major. They were in the Big East, if they're not still in the Big East. So they're not a mid-major. They're a small school. Notre Dame is a small school. I don't think Notre Dame has won it. But I'm talking about a small conference, and Gonzaga is in a small conference. Baylor, I don't know. I just don't see them letting Gonzaga win. But right now you would have, but following how they do things, they're the favorite. They are the favorite right now. It seems to me, because UCLA wasn't that well. They weren't that good. Even listening to the talking heads, I'm not convinced. I watched the game, and that game was scripted more than the others. So that game was very scripted. That's interesting that Valerie says that. I am following Kobe and Jordan script, Space Jam. Interesting there. I hadn't thought about that. Brian has gotten exposed in the past, but the allegations go away. Bet Gonzaga this weekend. Yeah, I would say Gonzaga is going to cover. And you know, the under's been the thing. I think out of all the games, there was only one game that went over. That Michigan game, they made a killing because everybody bet on Michigan and everybody bet on the over. Woke agent, stop to get my YouTube. Go to my YouTube. Hey, Win, what do you think about the Warriors? Warriors struggling to get in it. But still look at Steph's popularity. Under Armour, which they ain't even got him in commercials anymore, at least not in my area. The only commercials he's been getting is that car commercial, is the used cars or that car stuff is all you're seeing him on. That means his Q ratings is not that high. So I think they're holding them a year or so. But again, it's just they like raising people up and taking people down. I think he's not totally taken down, but I think he's taking out of the public. Because again, without Thompson, it's not believable. And even though in some ways Wiggins is a better all-around player than Thompson, the way they pushed up Thompson to shoot, though, as the shooter, they've hurt Wiggins with the basket manipulation. Again, I watched that firsthand here. They've let him be more successful there than they have here. Not tobacco, is it? So they're going to struggle. They might make it in the play-in. But Denver looked good tonight. But did y'all see my video on Aaron Gordon? He's all in the hidden hand. Then the only time he takes his hand out is to start throwing signals, but he's hidden hand. So I'm exposing that shit. It's like Anthony Davis came out one time with a hidden hand like this, like, okay, I don't care if you see me. That's why I know they be seeing my work. Because he came out like, I don't care if you see me. I'm proud I went in the rooms. I don't know if y'all remember that last season. But no attacking anybody. No attacking anybody. We grown enough. Do you think Curry will team up with LeBron next year and recruit him the All-Star weekend? I don't know. He doesn't. They don't really need each other. They don't really need each other. The push for LeBron is going to be to get his boy to play with him. And his boy ain't that tall, so his boy is going to have to be outside shooter. I don't think his boy is good enough not to go to college. I don't think he's good enough not to go 4 years to college. But they're going to put his boy in a good position. The video from the Gatorade showed him going to Duke. Remember, the Gatorade showed him going to Duke and then going to the pros from Duke. So if I couldn't see them having LeBron's son and Curry. I've got an actual YouTube where I actually post bootleg link to stop playing with me. I am active in Twitch, Instagram. You don't have to, T-Bo. You don't have to. I ask anyone. You don't have to tag people. You don't have to tag people. I mean, there's an agent that's in here. The number one person, the first person, and not James, but it's another person that always works for Google that watches everybody. They're assigned to certain type of people. That is why they were able to cut my stream off midstream. It apparently was a some kind of alert for me, and they had a list, and they were looking at their list, and if I said any of the list words, and I talked about the plunge, and that must have did it. And I don't understand why, if I talk about my experience with my doctor, why that was worth erasing 3,000 videos and all the music. All that music I collected. It ain't no thing. It's not a thing. Because the Russians have that stuff and you can buy it back. I already started the chat where I'm. So how am I? I've already stated in the chat. Cheapo, you don't have to defend yourself. Because I am a big boy. And who said your agent? I said Gematria News might be one. Oh, that's a different story. The cat that only thinks just the Jesuits. That's what she's saying. She's saying the cat that only blames everything on the Jesuits instead of the real power in the world. It ain't the Jesuits. The Jesuits have a master. Look at when the Jesuits came in. They had a master. So everything ain't the Jesuits. So if a person says everything is the Jesuits, why would that person say that? And I should go on there one Wednesday again. But again, I don't want to take I don't want to take someone that doesn't do this, take their chance to come on. Because like Rambo, I'll tell you, of all that stuff, Rambo is bad. Y'all ain't checking that out. And he just does about 20 minutes with Zach. That's it. But Rambo, he's one of the few that talks about the divine feminine and the attack on the divine feminine. Rambo is kind of fire. Tighten up your feelings for no reason. Do you think news broadcasters work for the CIA? The CIA has been known. In the 70s, they had to go in front of the Senate, and the Senate broke them down and said, "Do you control broadcast news?" And the double talk the Senate said was, "We have assets that work in the news industry." So we know the CIA. See, this is how it works. The CIA controls the world news. The FBI controls the American news. So they work together. So yeah, news is all propaganda. You know, like people talk about Fox. Fox still pushes the plunge. But if you just look at it all, everything is just switched. All the attacks on Trump, and you had the Trump defenders, you had Uncle Imbecile defenders, and then you had the attacks coming from CNN. Now it's flipped. You got all the attacks coming. And then before I came on, I was just watching them. They did two things. If the gang unit in LA was crooked as the gang unit here in Minneapolis, they needed to be disbanded. And I imagine they used it the same way. And all the Fox people was like, how could they disband the gang unit? Ex-murderer is now on the board to see about it disbanded. But what about the crookedness of that kind of thing and forfeiture? I mean, forfeiture used to be so bad that it was just ridiculous. I mean, forfeiture was meant to go after big, well, none of the dope dealers as big as the government, but it was meant to go after the under levels that the people see. What happened is people would get rich through the cracks. So they put the forfeiture law up so the people couldn't get rich off the cracks. Because say somebody's not working for the government and they turn the government down, boom, forfeiture. And they getting that money, forfeiture, take their stuff. Because the government only wanted agents selling for them. That's why all these names you see, and that's what makes me wonder about Al Prophet showing all these dope people. What side are you on, buddy? Oh my goodness, what is the goofy dude's name? I gotta find his name. Let me tell you. Oh, this is the trip shit. Check this shit out. What? Okay, then pants. Hit your ass, you'll stay up out of there. What is the goofy guy's name? And I mean, I don't attack anybody. And I just say the brother doesn't study enough. However, what is this guy's name? His name is Charles something. What is his name? I want to say his right name. So I know the guy's name. Because I don't follow anybody. He be on this one channel. I want to say his name right so I can get this shit out right. So give me a second to scroll through here. His name is Charles something. But let me tell you who I got an email from a motherfucker, and I don't know who this motherfucker is and the offer they gave to me. This is some funny shit. What is his name? Because he was wearing some diamond glasses the other day. And this is some shit. Hey, the one. Hey, Jay, thank you for joining me. Let me tell you this goofy guy's name. I mean, his Mackin is just not smooth. But he's a country dude. And, you know, I mean, he comes off as a country dude, but he teaches his own. But I want to get his name right. And somebody can tell this dude, this is what trips me out about this shit right here. So I want to find him. So give me a minute. Here he is. Charleston White. Yeah. He's big business, I guess, is what he's on. Yeah. I got an email. Now I'm going to say this. I don't really. What I talked about was the scholarship. It's kind of, you shouldn't say you saw the movie. You know, you should do some real scholarship. And that's what I attacked, is you didn't really do scholarship. It just doesn't sound intelligent, you saying you saw the movie. But this is what they hit me with. So if y'all want to tell Charleston this, whoever, this is what somebody emailed me. And again, I was like, how the fuck do you even get my stuff? They told me that if I do to him what Lenore, whatever his name was, did to Omar Johnson, they said they would start helping me get better equipment. They said put a campaign against him. So if I shift my stuff, because that's how I say, we see you don't agree with him, and we see you see his faults, and if you do a campaign against him, your numbers will soar, and we'll help you with equipment. I'm like, I'm reading this shit like, why do you figure that I would do that to another brother, first of all? Yeah, Charleston wants drama. But I'm like, why would I do that? How does it seem like I hate my brothers that much that I would ever consider that? So anybody, y'all tell them that. These motherfuckers came to me and want me to set up my channel, or they even said I could set up another channel and just go after him. And they'll show me how to edit and all that shit about his material. I am not against my brothers like that, y'all. I am not against my brothers like that. I would never consider some stupid shit like that. Make a career out of attacking another brother. I've already talked about that dude attacking Johnson even when he's down. I don't want to do that to anybody. I want that brother to stack his bread. His message hits some people, and his message ain't my thing. I find him entertaining, but that's it. If you think I'm going to sit here and attack that dude night in and night out and make a career out of attacking that dude, I ain't with that. So that is how they do it. They build you up, and they think you're getting this bread, and then they try to sneak dish you to put you back down. So If anybody knows that brother, yeah. Somebody else will do it though. So tell him to beware of that. It'll be somebody else that'll be glad to do that. There's a lot of mistakes I'll make. The motherfuckers get. You can talk about me all day. I have dyslexia. Let me tell you how this shit fucks with me. I didn't realize where my hospital, that I was in the hospital, I already knew. I knew this place, and it just, my shit gets all jingled. It was like I'm going off to go to it was either go 94 west or 94 east, and both of them to me looked like it was just straight ahead. My mind wouldn't tell me, and I've been this way 1,000 times. My mind could not say which one is which. All I saw is 94. I couldn't tell. I had to go. I went back east, had to get to St. Paul, turn around and come back the other way. So, this shit is not easy for me. But I ain't fucking with the brother. I had to turn that shit down. They might not like I'm exposing them. I ain't say the motherfucking name. It's probably not a real email. So, but I'm just telling him, motherfuckers know him. Somebody else will. So tighten this shit up. Tighten your shit up, young brother. And make sure they can't come after you. Because you start making that bread, they will come after you. It was like this school, I'm still trying to fuck with, get this school. I ain't asking for help. But I got them down from 10 million to 5 million. So it's a little movement, but I ain't asking nobody for that. That's too much money to be sitting here trying to get people, hey, you guys believe in me enough to give me 5 million and I'm going to set this school up and bring people here. No. I would rather just do it without anybody's help. If I have real investors, then that's real investors. I'm not going to be coming on here for that. I'll do that on my own. Oh, you have dyslexia? Yeah, it would have helped me. It would have really helped me. It's not that I see the letters and numbers differently. It's just the way I process things. And the simplest way I can explain it is like this. Like if you told me to get you some mints that said just mints, that's all I could see. I couldn't see sugar-free. I couldn't see any flavors. If you just said mints, that's all I could read. I couldn't read. Like when I go for cat food, my mind just says cat food. I can't read what types of individual. It all looks the same. It's like everyone I look at will say the same thing. Won't say Purina, won't say none of that. Now, when I get home and look at it, I can tell, but we've done tests. And it's like, if you tell me to get mayonnaise, I can't read mayonnaise light. Like I'll go there, like my family's tested me. Like I just, all of it looked the same to me. The biggest mistake I used to be was ranch. I'd always get ranch light because I could not see that it said ranch light. All I could see is ranch. Used to make so we used to get 2 bottles. And my children, they want candy or toys, so they wouldn't be no help when they was little. So that shit gets mixed up to me. That's why this computer shit, I really can't get through it. Crazy Sar just tried to help me. PNN has tried to help me, and I just don't get this shit. I really don't. I don't know if I could ever edit any of that stuff. But I just try my best. I try my best to get through it. So, but it affected me the other day. It really did. My daughter, she started crying. I want to go home. I'm like, chick, we around here. She's like, are we going to walk? It was kind of chilly yesterday, too. And I was like, well, and then I went in the damn wrong ramp, but I was only like a half block away. So it's like going in the wrong ramp wasn't that big a deal, but and it makes my daughter nervous because I'm yelling and shit and I'm cussing at the phone like, motherfucker, you didn't give me directions to the right goddamn place. I'm cussing Zuri out or Suri out. I'm cussing her out and shit. So it's all right, y'all. I know me, I know me. I know my strength and I know my weaknesses. Now, this next story I want to bring up, and I've said this on my other show, but this is one of the funniest shit I ever saw. And I'll have to explain it. So Kellogg's, there was a Dr. Kellogg's. There's a Goofy movie too. I forget what it's called, but it's about John Kellogg's, who was a doctor who was a Seventh-day Adventist as well. Sojourner Truth was a Seventh-day Adventist. Seventh-day Adventists all was pretty much created in Battle Creek, Michigan. That's why Sojourner Truth moved to Battle Creek. She was a Seventh-day Adventist, but so was this John Kellogg's. So John Kellogg's builds this enormous sanitarium, which used to mean a health spa. So C.W. Post, who later kills himself, in Battle Creek had a statue of that fucker up for a long time. For a long time, his statue is up. He blew his brains out. But the brother left some meal out one day, and he just happened to, one of his assistants just took the left out meal and threw it on the pan, and it came out to flakes. They were serving people this. C.W. Post was there and got this stuff. He went and started a cereal company. John, his brother William, was like a janitor. He was really hoeing his brother. His brother was a janitor. His brother was like, hey, we got this new stuff. So they started serving in the sanitarium. Dr. Kellogg wouldn't let him serve it, So he had to sue his brother all the way to the Supreme Court. John Kellogg, Dr. Kellogg was such an asshole that the Supreme Court sided with his brother. William Kellogg started Kellogg cereal. So the sanitarium gets burned down. Someone burned down, again, this is a big, giant wooden structure. They burned it down. He built a new one with all this. He did it right. He put all this beautiful marble, and he completed it like in the mid-30s. Or he completed it right, like 28, 29, he completed it. Then the stock market crashed. He owed all this money for that thing. So by the time World War II came in, the government ended up having to buy it from him, so he lost it. Trying to think why. Oh, okay. So the government buys this thing. They use it as a hospital, World War II. Now it's the logistics center in the Midwest. They don't use a lot of the building, but the beautiful marble and everything, they have proms in there. But I bring it up for this, and I'm still forgetting why. Oh, okay. So I'm there as armed guard. We armed guard and stuff. So there was this big heavy dude. This dude must have weighed almost 600 pounds. He had been working there forever. He sued this place. He sued the government because there was no toilet for him. So they made this dude. So they spent thousands of dollars. I bet they spent almost $100,000 to build him this toilet for this 600-pound dude. This toilet, now, I saw the dude, and then the dude retired. They spent all this money, $100,000 on the whole bathroom. Anybody could use it, but it was basically built for him. And for some reason, they made the whole like commode area. They put this steel around it, so it's stainless steel all around this commode. I could never figure out why they did that. Nobody can ever explain it. But it is like this. So you walk in this room, and this commode only is lined with stainless steel walls and a stainless steel floor. Now I have a bigger, taller commode here in my house. This commode, this is for a 600-pound man. This commode must have stood, what is this, about 3.5 feet? 4 feet would be up here. I'm thinking 3.5 to 4 feet. I mean, it was pretty high. This is the funny shit. This commode had damn shock absorbers on it. So like when he plopped on it, it had shock absorbers to kind of lower him a little bit. Now I know this because after he retired, anybody could use it, and I would go in there and play with the damn thing. Because you'd actually sit on this toilet and it would go shh, and it would lower a little bit. But this toilet, like if you look, like when you shut the door sealed. You understand? So this is a stainless steel commode door. So you got stainless steel here, stainless steel there, stainless steel floor, stainless steel ceiling, and this commode with shock absorbers on it. And you would sit on it, it would lower a little bit for the 600-pound dude. But I talked to one of the engineers that built it, and he technically said that if the whole building blew up, the toilet would survive. That's the funniest shit I'd ever heard. If the building blew up, because back then after 9/11, it was all kind of terrorist shit and stuff, and that's why they hired more guards. But this toilet would survive. This toilet could damn near take an atomic blast, and it would survive. And no one still explained to me why they built it like a bunker almost. But it was a hell of a thing, and you had to see I mean, they built it so well that you really, I don't know, I can't really explain it to you. Except when you sat on it, it lowered a little bit. But they built this thing, and then the dude only worked for a year or two. By the time they got done, he only worked there a year or two. And they had this bomb shelter toilet. So if it was any alarms and stuff, or my family was ever in any trouble, I was going to go there to this bunker toilet facility because we'd survive. Waste of money. Shock absorber. Oh, yeah. I used to play with that shit all the time. That was the only place I would use when I worked there. And it was just funny to sit on that bug because you would sit on it and go, shh. Then I'd jump off and it lift back up and I'd sit on it again and go, shh. Nobody hardly used it, it looked like. But I never understood why it was all encased in a stainless steel room. It was pretty much a room by itself. So you go in there and it's marble everywhere, but then at the end you see this stainless steel. $100 and some thousand toilet. I always wanted to stick a camera in there and watch him sit on the thing just to see how it worked and him being so big. Because this dude, you guys ever see a wheelchair with dually wheels? You ever see that? A wheelchair with dually wheels. Like each side had two wheels. Y'all ever see that? One of them electric wheelchairs with dualies? It had dually wheels in his electric chair. His electric wheelchair had dualies. That's how big this cat was. Oh, so I wanted to share that story because that's how silly life can be. I think it was one other story I wanted to share. And I always said, if that place got bombed, here's another thing, a blast from the past. So do y'all remember this? And this may perceive some people. So, you know, the afro used to be kind of a sign of your blackness or whatever you want to call it. And, of course, people that had BB shot hair, you know what BB shot hair is. It's like if you would see someone in like really tight curls. So no matter what you did to it, it would bounce back into a BB shot. So you would comb it out, but it'd still just be tightly to a person's head. And it was called BB shots because it looked like a little BB, you know, it's BB gun. Well, somebody came through with a solution to the BB shot people hair. And the solution was called a blowout kit. So Johnson & Johnson, the people made Ebony magazine, they had a blowout kit. In some kind of way, you could put this stuff in your hair, and it wasn't a perm, but it would blow your hair out into afro. So say you had a TWA, a teeny weeny afro BB shots, you might gain about 6-8 inches. So, you know, one day you go to school and you got the tight BB shots, and not to say you couldn't comb it, but it was like Kevin Durant has BB shot hair, but he has just a big bald spot on top. But if you look at his hair, he don't cut it, he has that BB shot hair. And people would get this Johnson & Johnson blowout kit. And it would go from, like, say you had BB shots like this, it would give you about 3 or 4 inches. And, you know, you would ask a person, you know, people would cap on people like, yeah, you know, you got the blowout kit. You know, what could they say? Like it's like a girl that when people start wearing weaves, how could you know, you can't lie and say that's your hair. You there one day and you got, you know, women got very short hair and the next day she got hair down to the middle of her back. That's not natural. And so does anybody remember the blowout kits? Hey, Lorenzo. So Valerie says the toilet is the real MVP. It really is. But then remember the blowout kits. You know, people come to school with the BB shot hair and all of a sudden they got afro for a couple days. It had to be some kind of chemical. That just made me think of that shit. I was like, damn. I remember one dude took his senior pictures with the blowout kit. He had long hair for a couple of days. Life is just hilarious. Life is just hilarious. Oh, I gotta say this. Tomorrow I will be on. Let me get this right. So tomorrow I am coming on at 9:00 tomorrow night because Awaken One, she said 10 o'clock her time, which I believe is, yeah, she's on Eastern time and down there in Georgia. So it'll be 9 o'clock my time. So if you're on Eastern time, it will be 10 o'clock. If you're Central time, it'll be 9 o'clock. If you're in another country, you're going to have to figure that out. It's going to be even earlier for you. So maybe, it's going to be too early. But she's coming on, and the people that didn't get a reading, she'll give them a reading tomorrow. So 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock Central, but 10 o'clock Eastern for who's ever Eastern. So she'll be back on tomorrow. But what's happening, Lorenzo? So now I don't think we're going to be on right at 10 because she's getting ready and stuff. She gets nervous. So be heads up around then. I'll talk to her and make sure, because I know she called me when I was napping. It was like I was napping and I missed the call. So by the time I got the message, I know she goes to bed early. So those of you that didn't get a reading before and have your questions kind of, you have, for those, if you do the replay, however you do it, have your questions kind of in advance of what you want to ask her. And we'll try to get everybody that wants a reading. And if you have another question, you got a reading before. But what we kind of want to do, there were a few people she didn't get to. So what we would like, if you had a reading before, kind of wait your turn. But she's coming back on tomorrow. Make his hair happy. His hair is short and nappy. Yeah, that's what they said. If your hair is short and nappy, use Afro Sheen to make it happy. That's what he's talking about. Afro Sheen. Like catch the very first Soul Train. It's I don't think it's Johnson but it was something Johnson. It was them Johnson people from Ebony Magazine and Jet that was behind it. But you'll see some Soul Train dancers in the commercials or doing the commercials. If you watch the very first with the honeycombs, the very first Soul Train in LA was with the honeycombs. They're on there. I want to get it in the walnuts, and they're doing the breakdown. It's before. It had to be after the Funky Chicken. No, they were still doing the breakdown. So somewhere around the Funky Chicken breakdown. But it's that up and down dancing I was talking about last night, because the breakdown is not much different than the Funky Chicken. A lot of the pop and lock movement was kind of in the Funky Chicken. Because there was another, the Jackson 5 had a song out. Tell me how funky is your chicken now. Let me see you do it. Do the chicken now. Tell me how funky. I refer to you as the hockey puck sausage guy, Mark. To others, they think your content, but they like you. But I've tried to slowly convert them. Well, thank Mark. Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's what they have. McDonald's has the hockey puck sausage. They've had it for years. You go up there, you go to McDonald's, and the sausage is like that big. Thing looks like a hockey puck to me. What Soul Train aired? What Soul Train ever aired in Chicago? Yeah. Now, for those that are old enough, WGN Soul Train started in. So he was in. I think the first LA Soul Train was 71. Yeah, Wastack I think was 71. So around 71, 72 when he moved. But the first Soul Trains was on WGN in Chicago, and he had a lot. It was like a lot of the same content, but he interviewed people a lot more. Like before they would do the Soul Train line, he was like, somebody would come up to dance. He's like, who you dedicating this? And they would let like Soul Train dancers go. Then he would stop somebody. He's like, who you dedicating? And they would talk and he'd let them. But it was on WGN. The original Soul Train was on WGN. Those that lived in the Midwest saw it. Again, WGN. This is only local, because at first cable wasn't nationwide. Like cable, like when I lived in Kalamazoo, we was still picking up with antenna. We could still pick. We had a big tower. My stepdad built a tower, so we was still getting the South Bend channel. We could still get WGN. Now, TV 50 in Detroit was one of the channels that became cable. So you was getting Detroit cable, and then later WGN turned into that. And so I was Soul Train pre-cable. That I can't remember. Was Soul Train pre-cable? I want to say yes. But Soul Train was on Chicago, was in Chicago at first, on WGN. WGN Studio, the same studio that did Bozo the Clown, did Soul Train at first. And then he took it west. But I started watching Soul Train out of Chicago. And I was fairly young. Again, I was only 10 years old in 71, 72, 10, 11. But that's where it started. Soul Train started in Chicago. Yep. So that's when he started. He started Don Cornelius because the Soul Train line is a wedding thing. I mean, I always knew about that. That's a wedding thing. I don't know if anybody's melanated and been to a wedding in the last 40, 50 years. That's always been a thing. That was never a Soul Train thing. That was just a wedding thing where you would just, everybody would have a line, you know, and men on one side, women on the other side. And, you know, everybody danced through. That's where that came from. He didn't come up with that. That's been, people been doing that. But he made it nationally popular. Like even he says the people in the Midwest dance different. People wasn't popping and locking. You know, that's how they danced in California. Like Charlie Murphy said, y'all in California in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, y'all wasn't the most masculine dressing cats in the world. And Charlie Murphy talks about that, but that's the thing. California dudes, pre-gang war, they was perceived as sort of soft, even especially the way they hooped. I'd go out there just mug dudes. And I mean, hooping is like, you ain't getting nothing. What? Let's fight. No call. You 6'8", you calling a foul on me? No call. Ball. Let's go. So dudes was from California, hooping was really soft. When they come to the Midwest, they would get that work because they just wasn't used to. In Battle Creek, we didn't have any rules. When we played pickup, like in the gyms, there was no rules. You didn't call fouls. You didn't call traveling, none of that. We just played. It got to the point where we just played. It was no out of bounds. If you jumped in the air and it might have bounced out twice and you threw it back in, that was called a hustle play. But that was the way to get out of the argument, is there was no rules. You just play. Now, nobody was trying to undercut or anything like that, but it was no fouls. So if you go and shoot a layup and they hit your hand, yeah, you ain't get nothing. It had to be an obvious foul, but other than that, there was no rules. Now, carrying, you ain't running down the court, none of that. But like out of bounds plays, yeah, it was not. And there were no fouls. And a lot of people would come in town and not like to play like that. But that stopped all the arguing. If you know there ain't no fouls, there's nothing to argue about. Just keep playing. Let me know when you want the kratom. I can send it to you so you'll have it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. You have my email. I'll put my email in. Email me. I've got so many damn emails now. Oops, that I don't know which one to really send you because I'm kind of, this one's still in use though. I had to go into the tobacco shop earlier. Okay, that's it. Just like James, feels like I am going to die without leaving my mark on the world. I didn't make it to the NBA or make a career out of the game. I love basketball. Well, teach your knowledge to people that you know. And this is the thing. You did leave a mark on the world. There's somebody that knows you, so your mark is on the world. Not sure, you know, but if you have parents, you have family, there's a mark on the world. I don't know if this is a popular theme, but okay. This is a Wonderful Life. I'm sure most people watch that. The movie, the Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, where they show him go back in time where he didn't exist. And the best point was his brother got killed because it saved his brother from drowning. Well, when he wasn't around, his brother died. And so you have to really look, if you didn't exist, your fingerprint on the world would have been missed by those that know you. Whoa, that was perfect timing. I was just checking it. So those that know you, you have made a mark. So don't think of it as being famous. That doesn't matter. Think of it as your contribution to the people that you know. That's the biggest thing, is how have you contributed to the people that know you? How have you ever been helpful? Have you ever helped the elder? And that's how you got to look at it. You can't compare yourself to anybody. Compare yourself to you. And the thing is how your mark is have you ever shown kindness to anybody? Have you ever been helpful? And just think, if in those situations where you've shown kindness or you've been helpful, it's like I used to see this lady, and I used to tell her every day how well her outfit looked. And she was a little older, so it wasn't ever to flirt with her, but I'm like, man, you killing them every day. I love the way you put your clothes together. And one day she was about to retire or something, and we had worked about 4 or 5 years together. I was doing security somewhere. And she came to me before she retired and gave me some stuff. And she was like, you know, those days that you told me you loved my clothes? She said, do you know that how good that made me feel? You were the only one I ever noticed. And she said, I started dressing so you could notice. And she said, my husband never noticed. My children never noticed. She said, but you noticed. You noticed how I looked every day. And that just made my day. Just the way you looked at me. I appreciated it. And I never flirted with her. And that's what she says. We've never flirted with each other, but you always complimented me every day of my hair, my nails. And she said, I like that kindness that you showed me. And it made my day. And it made me when I put myself together. Because I figured if you didn't say anything to me, then something I might have not put together. But she said, every day I saw you for 5 years, you always complimented the way I looked. Now, I'm not saying I changed her life, but I gave her a little spark. I gave her just a little spark. And that's how you make your mark, is kindness. So it's not, selling your soul on TV for one of these leagues where they corrupt something that's naturally given. It's, have you ever shown kindness and love to people? That's what is forever. I mean, one thing that the movie Lucy said, and I'll give it out, it's coming. What did she say to her mother when she was on the phone? I felt all the million kisses that you've ever given me. I feel them right now. I teased my children. It was one time a few years ago. It was like, did I ever kiss you when you grew up? And their mother always hated me kissing her because she says when my mustache gets long, my hairs are coarse. And she's like, yes, you always kissed us when we were little, poking us with those pokers of yours. But the point was, when they were little, they got love. They got tickled. They got thrown down, played with. And so that's how you make your mark. We would have something called shit for it. If it was like a call, like the ball went out of bounds, challenge or foul or travel, we would just say, shoot for it. It would be challenge or die. Yeah, Lorenzo, we shot for it too, but we even got away from that. Because everybody can shoot so well, you just be shooting and it wastes time, and people get cold, and so we just said nothing. So when people, like, we did it outside, and then when we moved inside the winters, we kept playing like that. And a lot of cats wouldn't come play with us because of that. But people would come in town, they was like, oh, okay, no, ain't no fouls. You got to just go. And that's just how we played. And it took arguing away, because when I would go to other cities and all just to argue, and I was a bully. I was a hoop bully. And so I was like, because like if I played against cats that called a lot of fouls, don't cry when I call fouls. Because the way I played, I was constantly getting fouled. Like if a person hand checked me, I would hook their hand. I would grab their hand. I had a move where they hand checked me, I could grab their arm, hook it, and get by. And what are they gonna say? I'm like, don't hand check me. If you don't want to be hooked and you want me to grab your arm, don't hand check me. But it made us unique. It made our game unique. And even like when the city cut the funding, because what the city did is we had a semi-pro league for 10 years. All of a sudden, the city cut the funding. Like at one period, we all got jerseys and everything. City cut all that funding and put all the money into the children. So we had about 40 guys that just, what were we going to do? So it was about 20 of us that just stuck together, and we kept playing every Saturday, every Sunday. and we would rotate in and out. We would just rotate. We would play for hours, and then our girlfriends and wives would come, and they would start grilling. So we started grilling. One time we was playing. I told this story before. We had just got done playing, and the park is just packed. And these girls start fighting with baseball bats, and they're like, it was like the Star Wars stuff. You was hearing the bats clink, and they doing sparks, and they got metal baseball bats. These girls was going at it. And then one girl missed, the other girl got her right in the stomach. It was like, boom, and you could just see the air come out of her. And then the girl fell on her knees and across the back, and then some dudes rushed in, but she got her good because she kind of sidestepped her, and she missed, boom, right in the stomach. And the girl fell, she spit some blood out, and then she hit her right across the back, and then people jumped in. But they was like right here. Can you imagine, like a few feet away, and me and my man was just sitting there. We was smoking a blunt or passing a bowl or something. And we was just sitting there tripping off of. And my man was like, man, I hope I ain't got to get my gun. I'm like, I'm thinking the same damn thing. I don't want to grab my gun for these stupid girls. Because I think we were sitting on my car, and his car was next to me. I'm like, man, I do not want to pull my gun out here. And of course, the story, the Uzi that shot nothing but blanks, motherfucker talking shit, and I pulled that motherfucker out, I cleared the park out. You talking motherfucker jumping, running across the street, cars taking off, and I'm just spraying, and you're hearing them bullets. It's just one of them sharper images. It was just a blank gun, but it shot 100 and some rounds in a few minutes. Everybody just cleared the park. Cops came afterward. We was gone. I picked up all my brass too. Most time we would say die because challenge would take off. Damn, yeah. WWE on steroids. There you go. Oh, that shit was funny. No, it's metal bats. Yeah, metal bats. It was metal bats. Yeah, metal softball bats. Metal softball bats. And they was going at it. I mean, for a minute, they was just hitting each other. Clink, clink, clink. And these women, because they started arguing. And one girl got the bat and the other girl, and I mean, they were literally fighting feet in front of us. And we were just sitting there. We were just like, and he just looked at me. He's like, man, do we need to move? That's what he said. T was like, do we need to move? I'm like, man, I would kick one of these chicks. They come near me with them bats. But I'm like, this is like watching a movie. It was like watching a movie, watching a fight. And for a minute, they was clink, clink. Then one got their fingers hit, and she's like, oh, you got my fingers. I mean, this shit was it was kind of comical. But then the one chick missed, and that chick got her right in the solar plexus with that bat. Pow! And she got on her knees and spit blood out, and then it was the boom across the back, and then people didn't let her hit her again. But she got her good. Hey, Sebastian. Hey, Rocky. Thanks for joining. Yeah, it was metal softball bats. Yeah, they was going at it. It was, I mean, that's the thing at the park. The park, you could see anything happen. But the Hoopers, we never had them problems. Never really had them problems. Like the time I pulled out the blank gun, that was probably the funniest shit, But other than that, never anybody ever came anything like that. I still go, when I go back home, people's like, you remember you pulled that Uzi out and you shot the park up? I didn't really shoot the park up. It seemed like I shot the park up, but I really didn't. Them bullets wasn't going to hurt nobody. It was a blank. It just sounded loud and made a lot of noise. And people used to, like, you hear them kind of noises, it clears everybody out. And I'm sitting there laughing. Me and my guys are sitting there laughing because they're like, man, they was like, kind of like, you ain't going to pull that shit out. I'm like, what? And the shit it wasn't cheap. Shit. It was from Sharper Image. Man, I think in the 80s, I paid about $300 for that thing, if not more. But it was a Uzi blank gun that shot blanks. But it shot a bunch of them. You could load them blanks up all day. And it was cheap to buy back then. Oh, yeah, Valerie, that chick was done. When she hit her, she was done. When she hit her in her solar plexus, I mean, it was like, it hit her and you could just, ooh, when a person gets the wind knocked out of it, it's like, ooh. And then she was like, when she was laying there, because it stunned her too, and she's on all fours and you just see blood coming out of her mouth. And then when the chick crossed the back, oh, she was done. She laid like out like this. So she was on her all fours trying to, she wanted to get back up, but air wasn't coming quick enough. You trying to, make it come back. Well, it didn't come back in time because chick boom on across the back, and she laid like flat on her face like this, her arms out. Yeah, and then they didn't let her hit her again because she revved up to hit her again and somebody grabbed her back. But and then everybody took off like that after that. But it was like, I remember T was like, should we move? I'm like, T, this shit is like a movie watching that shit. I mean, this is feet in front of us because they started like the car. It wasn't even a car link. It was like maybe a half a car link between us and them where they started fighting. And yeah, I don't even remember why. It's probably some dude had something to do with it. But it was entertaining. It was entertaining. It was very entertaining. And let me tell you, I'll tell you one of the sad things. I'll tell you one of the sad things I watched some people do too. And this dude was a crackhead. And this is on that guy that did that. But this guy, they was just like the crackhead was hanging around all the players, all the Macs, trying to get some money. And so one dude was like, look, to get him out of his face, he said, I tell you what, I'll give you $100 if you swim across. And it like Spring Valley is called a lake and people fish there, but it's a lake, but a little lake. But I mean, what crackhead is in shape? I mean, it wasn't a very big lake, but it was like, if you can swim over there, and he sent one of his men over there, and his man waved at him. He said, if you swim over there, you can get $100. And that's how he got him out of his face. And that mug swam out there and drowned. That's a true story. He swam out there and drowned. Yeah. And then the dude left, and like nobody, I don't think they ever got questioned or anything, but they came, and it's like people called, people started making calls, telling them, and they went out there and they found him, but he was dead. He had drowned. But that guy, they took advantage of that guy, and that guy drowned. Like Chris Walker said, she got knocked the fuck out. She did. I saw a guy get his eyeball knocked out, the socket with a metal bat because he owed unpaid debt. Metal bat would do that. Metal bat would do that. And people just don't realize how big eyes are. Eyes are really big. When you pull an eye out, it is a big thing to see. It is a big thing to see. Yeah. It is. It is a big thing to see. It's gross to see it too. It's gross to see that. Brain matter and shit, to see brain matter. Ooh, and it's a smell. Brain has a type of smell too. Ugh. That's why this one Army vet got mad at me one time. And he acted like he was the only one because he went to some bullshit combat wherever he went. And I'm like, yeah, I've experienced that too. I know what brains smell like and what it looks like when brains are exposed out of a head. And because again, I took traffic enforcement classes and all that. I've seen, but I remember that, but that's a hell of a thing to see. He was holding his eyeball in his hand, and my auntie drove him to the hospital. Well, the experience I had, and this is messed up. And I don't know, like there was this dude hooping with us. And there was a guy hooping with us. And the guy only had one eye. He only had one eye. He hooping with us. Him and this brother named Hickey. They kind of got into it. And like the game stopped and we let them get into it. Wasn't any blows. They was just talking shit. So Hickey quit playing. Somebody took his place. We started to play again. Hickey came out of nowhere and hit this dude in his only good eye. And I mean, hit him where his eye, like she's saying, where his eye was exposed. And like this dude had already lost one eye. And then Hickey hit him with a stick, it was like a stick so big, but maybe like a board, maybe a small board, but like this thick by that thick. And Hickey came up on the side where dude couldn't hit it because he did it quick. He came out of nowhere. We was playing ball, and Hickey got on the side where he knew dude couldn't see because, again, the dude was missing. I can't remember the right or left. And Hickey just hit that eye, and it's just blood, and his eye was hung out. And that dude, it blinded him. It permanently blinded him. I saw the dude years later, and his family came to get him, and they had to take him to the hospital the same way. But, the worst thing that I've ever seen, and I've said this, and I'll try to say it without getting emotional, but my best friend, we were going roller skating, and he forgot his skates. And so we all headed to the roller. We were about to head out. We was all at Burger King. He drove a block away to get his skates, and he heard something at the side of his house. So instead of just running into the house and getting his girlfriend, it was his girlfriend's skates. Instead of just running in there, he heard something. As he was going into his house, he heard something. So he walked to the edge of his house and he turned his head, and his brother's dad, thinking that his excuse was he thought it was her new boyfriend, shot him point blank in the face. Shot him point blank in the face. And those that heard my other show, I've told this story many times. So we were 16, and that changed me. And so Petey that lived next to him ran up and said, we got to go to the hospital because Lorenzo just got shot. What are you talking about? He's like, what are you talking about? He got shot. He's like, come on, this guy might die. So we go to the hospital. We beat the ambulance there, and they bring him through everybody. And like one eye was completely like hanging down here. I don't even have words how that looked. I mean, it just split his face open. It just split his face open. Like all this, like right here was just completely exposed down to the bone, to the skeleton. It just blew all that out. And like one eye was like hanging here. The other eye was like blasted out. It wasn't just like a blasted out socket. And he shot him point blank with a shotgun. And so the next day, to keep him alive, we had stayed there all day and all night. And so they thought that it would help with me. It was me, Richard, and Jimmy. And we went, and he could hear, and we was able to squeeze his hands, and they thought it would help him, survive if he knew he was there. And he still had, like when we saw him, he still had pellets in his lips. He had pellets in his chest. He had pellets in his arms and pellets still in his face. His head was like, if you look at my head, his head was double my head. Let me see if I can raise this. His head was like about this long. From all the swelling, his head was like that. So it was like this big lump they put together. And he lived. And the sad thing is the guy we got out of practice that night, the guy was 5'11", 5'10". The guy hit his growth spurt. When he got out the hospital, he was 6'5". And so he was going to be my quarterback. He was my best friend since third grade. And later, he ended up going to Michigan State. His brother got him hooked on heroin. And the dude Jesse Jackson helped him get a whole bunch of money. And they say that he tried to rob. He died suicide by police, basically. They claimed he killed a girl, but a lot of people say when the police shot at him, they killed the girl. But they claimed that, because he would just get money and he would go to New York and then be a blind dude and no money in New York. People would cheat him. Or he'd fly to LA one time. And so they put where he couldn't get his money anymore. He had to go through his mother to get his money. And so they said he went, like they still didn't explain how he got a gun. Like, how does this blind dude just know where to get a gun? But it's probably suicide by police. So that's probably one of the worst things I ever saw, to have to see my friend that young and how his life changed. His son was living up here in Minnesota. I hooked up with his son when I first moved here in 6, 7, maybe the summer of 7. I was seeing his son. His son was up here. His son is he was with Mayweather's camp for a minute. His son grew to be 6'8", heck of a hooper. But that's probably the worst thing I ever saw. Because that was terrible, and especially being 17. But it made me cold. It did. It changed me. It made me really cold. It made me cold towards shit where I wasn't cold before, and it made me cold. It made me really where I would hurt people, where I would say before that happened, I wouldn't really want to hurt people. After that, it put something in me where I could hurt somebody. I really could. And I don't think that ever left me. And not to say I don't love people and have compassion, but it gave me where if I had to hurt somebody, I could. And that's how it changed me. And it affected me for years. Still hard to talk about. The brain matter looks like scrambled mushed up eggs. It does. Yeah, he lived. This cat lived. He was in the hospital. This happened. Trying to think. I think we played the Christmas tournament. So this was probably, we was just in Christmas break. So it was December. He got out of the hospital in March or May. And he lived. But he grew to 6'5", from 5'10" to 6'5". And he graduated. He was this is our junior year. So he went back to school and everything. He came back. He graduated with us. He got they said he raped a couple of girls too, but he got this one girl pregnant, family friend. And like this guy, we rediscovered each other in 3rd grade, but his sister used to babysit me. So I knew, because I remember when I went to his house in 3rd grade, his mother was like, "Who are you over here with?" Because she knew my parents, and my parents was living across town. And she's like, "Why are you over here?" And I'm like, "I'm going to school there." She's like, "Well, where do you live now?" And I was like, "My father lived in Norway." She's like, "Oh." And I just being at this house, I was like, "I've been here before." She's like, "Yeah, you've been here before. Nettie used to babysit. You two knew each other as babies." I'm like, "Oh," or little boys. But we was in 3rd grade and we was friends, you know. And then he died by suicide by police. And that's just a sad thing. But yeah, he lived. He made it. Yeah. That's why they thought that if we saw him, that would help him. But Lorenzo, yeah, Pulley. I talked to his family now, and I'm like, "Oh, Pulley," because we started calling him Pulley. And that was a dude who owned a local Cliff last name was Pulley. And I don't remember why we started calling him that, but we started calling him Pulley. So all the basketball players, we didn't call him Lorenzo, we called him Pulley. That was our nickname. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that happen to you. Yeah, trauma just changed you a whole lot. Oh yeah, Valerie, it did. It changed me. It changed me. It made me look at people different, no doubt. And yeah, made me look at people. And so even hustling, I saw that, like, even hustling, I never was like a no nonsense person. Cop, I was never really no nonsense, you know. So, but we went on, and that young man would have had great things. I mean, really would. It hurt my career because I didn't have a quarterback. I didn't have a quarterback my senior year. I'm 6 foot playing center basically on the basketball team, and nobody's looking for a 6 foot center, and so it hurt us a lot. It hurt us a lot. Sports wise, it hurt us a lot. He was kind of like, we needed what he turned into. We really needed what he turned into. He would have turned into. But you know what they say, 8 million stories. And this is what's fucked up. The dude didn't get attempted murder. They gave the dude accidental shooting. He got 5 years. I've seen the dude. I think he's dead by now. I saw the guy when he got out. He got 5 years, accidental shooting. They did not give him attempted murder. Because the way it's supposed to be is anything above the waist is supposed to be attempted murder. No, he got accidental shooting. They believed his story that he thought it was the boyfriend. You tried to kill somebody, dude. They gave him accidental shooting 5 years. But he spent 5 years. But he was out. And this is the thing is, it was his little brother's dad. Because she had broke up with the little brother's dad, and she started going with this other guy. And he says he thought it was him. But he admitted it. We all went to the court. He admitted it. He admitted that he was trying to kill somebody, and they gave him accidental shooting. Let that guy out. 5 years. Because when I came back from college, that guy was around. And people was always trying to kill him after that. You can believe that. It was people trying to kill him. Yeah. Some of his family members he was always getting jumped on and shot at. Yeah. I don't know. As far as I knew, they never got him. But after that, when he was on the streets, it wasn't easy for him. And his son was older by then. So his son would like take up for his dad. But the rest of the family, they was trying to do him in. I don't know if they ever got him. Not that I knew of. But they shot at him. Other family members shot at him, jumped on him, beat him down. My worst thing was that involved me when a motorcycle landed on me that almost killed me. Like 1 year old. Wow. My worst thing was that involved me was when a motorcycle landed on me that almost killed me. Wow. At 1 year old. Wow. I had a similar kind of incident when I was young, and through my Time movie, and I was able to relook at it. and replay it, because that's what you kind of sometimes can jump in like that. But my mother, and I know I had to help my mother. I had to go back and help my mother because we lived on a hill. And I mean, it was quite a hill. It was quite a hill. And my father and my stepfather, again, my stepfather was living with us because they was best friends at the time. And I was on the tricycle, and the tricycle just went, and they weren't paying attention. And my mother caught me with her big toe. So I had to do a little manipulating there, but she caught me with my big toe. And her big toe, or I would have. And I had another cousin, and this is really a sad story. I had another cousin that they lived on a fairly, like, it's hard to say, Kalamazoo only got about 100,000 people, so it's not a terribly big area. And so the traffic, but Buster, his name was Buster. Buster was a vibrant little boy, and Buster got ran over. Ran over, and the rest of his life, he was put in a rest home at 6. Yeah, Buster was 6, and he lived in a rest home the rest of it. It didn't kill him, but he was brain damaged afterwards. Buster was another cousin that got hit by a car. Now, this is another story. The same that, like, one divineness and awaken when talking about working with your guides and ancestors. This is one time where I know they work with me. So I told a story where guys would race down the street. My dad was shooting at them. Well, on the other side of the street went to the highway. So this is like going back. Let me get it right. Yeah, so you'd be going south, but like there was another street, I think it was called Park Street, where you'd be going north. And I was racing this dude on a bicycle, and this street where they would kind of race cars on, I didn't give a fuck. I just wanted to win. And these two cars stopped like they hit a wall. No damage, but they stopped identical. And so I know the guides helped me in that instance, because I rode my bike right in front of two cars. And I had a cousin got killed like that. My cousin Tony got killed on a bike. And I know there were some guides there because the cars stopped. And this is, again, going back and looking at that shit, it's no way that where they landed and stopped. And this is drum brakes, not disc brakes. These is old drum brakes. This is 67, 68. So most cars back then still had drum brakes, and they stopped identical in the same spot at the same place and didn't run me over. So now I don't really use that a lot. I don't really call on that. It's like sigils and stuff. I don't really call on that. I don't really, how do I want to say it? I don't really do my magic like that. Not to say I don't see the value in it, but I don't really have to use that. Now, there is this place for that, but I know something helped me then. Something definitely helped me then. And there's no way those two old-fashioned brake systems stopped. Same place. No way. And the dude, because this is the thing, the dude I was racing, he stopped. He saw the cars. He stopped. I was like that, win at any cost. And almost got ran over my damn self. Well, so if it wasn't for the handlebars hitting the wall, it would have killed me. There you go. So you probably had something too. A slap on my wrist when it's unintentional. Yeah. On my leg. Wow. It's funny. My mother was coming home from work, and she saw a dude get hit on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle hit him, and she watched the dude. So it was like the dude was the motorcycle was either going straight and so the guy was turning left and didn't see the motorcycle, and he just ran him over. And when the guy got hit, he died instantly. And when he was laying on the ground, like he died so instantly they still thought he was holding on to the motorcycle. He died like this, like he was still holding on. He died that quick. Yep. And my mother, she used to have dreams about that shit, seeing that. Of course, I watched another police officer shoot a dude. That shit wasn't fun either, because of his fucked up training. And then he didn't get guilty for that. That was probably one of the first where a dude was handcuffed and this fucker shot him right in the back in front of us. Nothing happened to him. They let him off. It said one man's life was ruined. Why ruin another? That's the exact words the judge said. Because we was all trained. He hadn't trained with the 9mm. So all the other department had switched to the SIGs. So we carried magnums before then. So this dude was like one of the few that still carried a magnum because he hadn't qualified with the SIG yet. And dude stole the car. The brother stole the car, shot at this other cop a couple times, took his gun, beat him up, took his gun, took off back in his car. Well, the campus was where it was no way he could get out. It was really like once he took off, and the guy had radioed us too. And so once he took off, that was the call was, dude shot at me and, he took my car, he knocked me down, he shot at me, he shot at the car. So, but where he got stopped on campus, there was no way he could get out. There was just no way because where we was waiting, like cut off. Now that part of the campus is just totally cut off. But back then it wasn't. You could still drive through campus. And so we stopped him. He gave up. And the guy approached him. And for some reason, the dumb fucker cocked his gun. And so we all covered him while he went to arrest him. And for some reason, instead of, because, you just put your finger on the trigger and you decock it. It's just easy. You put your finger on the trigger and you just decock it. You feel the cushions and you just decock it. He didn't do that. He tried to handcuff him. And shit, it only put a small hole in his back, but we turned him around. It was like a hole like, about that big. He blew out just point blank. And we called the ambulance and, did pressure, but he ain't make it. And I think they sued the campus, and the campus might have gave him some money. I don't remember. But yeah, and I mean, it's just a little mark and smoke coming out and burning flesh from shooting. It's got a distinct smell too. But he just blew all that shit out. Little hole. But yeah, that guy didn't make it. And they did not make that cop go to jail. They didn't. He got off. He got fired, but he got off. And this is the dirty part. The dude who trained us talked big shit about this dude. And I mean, he was very theatrical to start with, but he really buried it because he thought they was going to sue him because you were supposed to be the one that trained him. And he threw the dude under the bus every kind of way, trying to deflect blame from him. And that's why I wonder, was that a test case to what we see today with them getting off? And he didn't mean to do the shit. He didn't mean to do it. Wasn't on purpose. Well, just panicking, not using proper procedure, not thinking. So it happens. It happens. But like Valerie said, trauma is just that shit stays with you. It never goes away. Never goes away. Like I got shot at. I told the story where you just playing backgammon. This lady just shoots at us. We had nothing to do with it. And this lady shoots at us. I mean, we shot back at her later, but she just shoots at us. We had nothing to do with it. We heard somebody else beat up her son, and this lady just comes out in a shotgun and just shoots at us. And so that shit, it adds up through the years. As the years go by, that kind of thing adds up. She's like, who's fucking with my baby? And we're like looking down at the dude who beat her up because he was standing there too. And she leveled that shotgun at us because we was just playing AC Deuce. And we just ran. We all, like three of us tried to dive in the door. And we just heard the shit fly over us. The pellets hitting the floor and shit. And luckily, we didn't get hit, but we was hearing that shit because we had the old tile floor. And you could hear the pellets hitting us and hitting in the wall. Choo, 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 and that shit is like if you roll marbles, it sounds like that. It sounds like marbles rolled on the floor, but really fast sound of marbles. That's what it sounds like. But we didn't even do nothing to her. So, wrong place at the wrong time. So, those kind of traumas. And then, of course, the last shooting I had in shooting from hustling, motherfuckers trying to rob me. I mean, I ain't get over that shit. I ended up moving here. I moved away from the city for a year because that shit don't leave you. It just doesn't leave you. It ain't glorifying. Now I know I played with the blank gun and everything, but I'm not glorifying anything. That shit is somber and it changes you. It changes you. It makes you into something that could be not nice anymore. It really does. It makes you look at life a different kind of way. It like with me, it put a coldness in me that ain't never went away. And each time you go through those situations, it just makes you a little colder and colder, and to see what humans, will do to each other. And I imagine that's what got my interest in studying Vietnam and talking to vets. When World War II people were still alive and Korean people were still alive, talking to them about combat and stuff like that. Maybe that's what sparked my interest in studying about that. Just talking to the dudes, because I could hear the stories, and I kind of understood, and I could see the shit as they're explaining that as well. But I don't know. Maybe that's what sparked that interest. So we all get our scars. I guess that's the point. We all get our scars. We all have to cope. Because Richard Pryor said it best: being a human being is hard enough, and then you got to put all this bullshit. It's like you could have a spouse, and the spouse know, like you could have a spouse, and the spouse know you having a tough time at your job, and she'll still cheat on you, or she'll still steal money from you. It's like, here you are, and you could have children together. And it's like, here you are trying to do your best to keep everything glued, and the person living with you is trying to tear you down. It's like you got enough, you have children you have to feed, and you got a boss, you got a job you don't like. And here you are with the weight of the world already on your goddamn back. And then somebody living with you will put that extra burden on you to even try to break it even further. That's what we as men and we as women, we as family people can be faced with at times, where somebody that live with us every day, instead of them trying to build us up, they trying to tear us down even more. And I've seen men been tear down like that. And then the children and stuff, wonder why he couldn't be the father that they wonder why they didn't have a father, and wonder why he went into being a drunk or being a drug addict. And I've watched men be destroyed like this. I've watched women go through the same thing. And then the children look at it and don't know the whole story. No one's ever really told them the whole story. When they sugarcoat for their daughter, they sugarcoat it for their son. It's like my oldest daughter's mother, this dude beat her up bad one time. She stayed with him. Another time, she's about to leave him, and he tried to kill her and my daughter and his son by pushing her car. He had an old 60 Cadillac. She had a little Corolla or something. He's pushing her car as they're going down the highway, trying to kill her and the children. She's still with him to this day. He physically beat her up. He caught us one time and he beat her up. She's still with him to this day. Sometimes people being comfort and benefits overrides that. Overrides that. I've seen something like that on Facebook post. Okay. Interesting. And so that's kind of, when I come on here, I try to give people common experiences. That's why I was saying I don't want people attacking each other. I mean, there's a lot of different posts that you can attack each other. I ain't here to say my shit's right and another motherfucker's shit's wrong. Like Charleston, I wasn't really attacking him. I'm just saying, you want to be a scholar. You want to talk about some things, talk about it from being a scholar, not watching movies. That was my thing. Because it doesn't, it hurts you into the thing that it seems like you really ain't aware. That's my thing. It shows that you're really not aware, that you kind of believe the illusion, because that's what movies are. Movies show you an illusion instead of actually getting the information, because the information is out there. Now, some people are too lazy to study. I understand that. Some people can't read. You might have to audiobook it. I understand that. But if you're talking shit about people and you say you saw the movie, that's, you don't really know it. You just, a aspect of it, but you don't really know it, is my point. You don't really know it. And it's something easy to know. So that's my only suggestion. But it's like, we as a people are attacked enough. Melanated people are attacked constantly. Constantly. We're under attack right now. Like all these people on Facebook talking about World War III. We are in World War IV. We are in World War III is over. We are in World War IV. When they took out most of the troops out of Iraq and most of the troops out of Afghanistan, that was the end of World War III. We are into World War IV right now. And the long-range plans is to bring UN Chinese troops into America. That is what they're trying to do with this. And this goes back to the man in the high castle. Quantum of Science put that dude, the guy who wrote the books, or who wrote the books, Man in the High Castle, and how he says it from the point of view as American people was lied to. But I'm saying it from the point of view, and this is what I was saying about with Godzilla and King Kong. They show the Pacific Fleet getting destroyed, and they say that our Pacific Fleet is destroyed. I looked at as this is what they want. They want to say that the Pacific Fleet gets destroyed and all the submarines, and that the Chinese invade the West Coast. And then they make a truce and they give them a part of the West. And so the West will be ruled by Chinese. I wouldn't, probably Texas too. They would probably throw Texas in there. But they would say Chinese troops had to go in to make sure Chinese people aren't attacked. That is what I see coming. And that to me is what Godzilla and King Kong show. The Pacific Fleet getting destroyed. And they would risk the people's lives and stuff. You know how many people would die on an aircraft carrier? Thousands. 6,000 to 7,000 people are on aircraft carriers. That's how many would die. Movies are just entertainment. Now you would find some knowledge of Jim here and there, but for the most part, it's entertainment. There you go. Godzilla gave King Kong the business. No, he didn't, Greg. No, he didn't. No, I mean, it was kind of back and forth. In the water, he kicked his ass in the water. But when they went on land, Kong could jump on the buildings and shit. It was a good movie. My daughter didn't want to see it. I'm trying to think. I'm going to go see it. I thought I was going to go see it today. She didn't want to go see it. And plus, I got busy today. But I'm going to go to the movies and see it. So it's supposed to go on a date Saturday. So maybe. And she ain't going to want to see that shit. My daughter didn't even want to see it. I don't want to go see that, Dad. You can't make me go see it. 9-year-old talking shit. You can't make me go see it, Dad. I don't want to see that. I'm like, if I pick you up and carry you to my car, you'll go where I go. I won't watch it. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it too. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I'll go see it again. I watched it here. My TV ain't one of them big screens with all the sounds and all the colors. I want all that. So I'm going to go see it again. I'll go see it again. I might watch it on the TV again. Might watch it tonight. I thought it was good. I've told everybody asking about it, like, go see it. That shit is good. My best friend, he took his son tonight. My best friend. I might have my best friend on because he's from Minneapolis. Oh, and we are going, like I said last night, Sean is down there every day. So I am going to go downtown and do a little reporting to feel the temperature. But the reports I'm still hearing that that there's going to be 1 million people. There's 3.5 million people in this area. If you break that down to adults, they're talking about almost half the adults are going down there when the verdict comes. And so I don't know what they're going to do because, they took over the city before. They took over all the South Side. I mean, there's 3.5 million people in this area. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because they put that Somalian in jail. No problem. No problem. Put him in jail. He got 12 years for killing that lady. They gave her, I said 40. They only gave her 20 million. But there's no way a recreation center yoga instructor would make $20 million. She was 40 years old. No way. The one that got screwed was the boyfriend. He didn't get any money. It went to her family. They weren't married. They were engaged. Woke, I've watched up to the part where they go to like their Akashic records. Remember he said, oh, that's me. And he was sitting there doing something. I've made it that far. I haven't watched it all. I watched most of it, but I haven't finished watching it all. So I watched most of it. So it was okay. Not a lot to say about it. It didn't seem like it had a lot of hidden agendas. Kind of gave you the idea. Kind of Wes Panari's example of how people can be taught to die, taught to go to your Akashic records, taught to call in your ancestor. It kind of showed that. That's what Akashic records is. It's teaching you to, be able to go through. You can have access to that while you're alive too. I mean, let me say that. You can actually have access to it. I've talked to my shit is hard. It's like a damn newspaper conveyor belt. But you can that's the part where he doesn't want to go to the white light. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't go past that. Right. He doesn't go to the light. I did see that. And but it goes into like a little bit of Wes Paneri's work, a little bit of that, where you're taught, how to die and accept it. And the point of the movie, from what I took it, was like you can't be that was a lot of alcohol, or excuse me, a lot of tobacco juice, but you can't be naive to the world. That's what I got out of it. It's like you can't be so caught up in the moment that you don't pay attention to your surroundings. And he killed himself accidentally because he got so caught up into his emotions of his dream. He was finally getting to live his dream. Did you catch the video of the melanated man mentioned his mama died the same day Michael Jackson died during the Floyd trial? No, I didn't see that. I know they've been putting it on the NBC. I think NBC is showing it. NBC or CB. I don't think it's ABC. So it's NBC or Fox, I think, is showing it. So I didn't see that. Hey, Sebastian. My favorite movies. My favorite movie, my all-time favorite movie is clearly Blazing Saddles with Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor did a little bit of writing. That part where it's like, watch that boy shit, Redneck. That was probably Richard Pryor. So Blazing Saddles. Another movie I love is with Alan Alda called Same Time Next Year. And it talks about this couple that has an affair for 20 years. Every year they meet at this cabin for 20 years. And like one time when they meet, she's pregnant, and he's like, she's wanting him to hit it because that's what they come do. They spend a couple days every year together, and he hits it, and she's pregnant. And he's like leery of hitting it while she's pregnant, but it just shows their life as they went. I love that movie. I love the movie about the dude with the dial too. The dude with the synthetic dial. I can't think of that name, the name of that movie, but I thought the way the town saved him because he saved the town. That was my third. Trying to think another movie. Dark City to me. I love Dark City's got to be up there. I like the Godfather series because of the unity of the people and understanding. Like none of them dudes was agents. That's what I loved between Godfather and looking at Scarface. None of them dudes became agents. Now, the one brother, Fredo, that was a little slow, he betrayed his family, but none of them cats was agents. That's what I liked about The Godfather. It was a loyalty. Costa Nostra was a loyalty. So those are my basic 5 movies. But I love Blazing Saddles. I'll sit there and just crack up watching Blazing Saddles. That's one of my favorite. Oh yeah, NBC. Okay, NBC. Yeah, Care. That's Care here. KAR here. That's what I thought they were showing it. Yep. NBC is showing it. And then somebody was asking me about Bally and Fox. Yeah, they're spreading that name out a lot more. Bally Sports. I saw the Bally Sports Report on the Fox channel. So I mentioned I saw him saying that shit the other day, but I caught that the last couple days. Like one screen just said Bally. So, and it's got to be the Bally that, because they spelling it and it's the same way the Bally stores. Bally shoes. You hear rappers from the East Coast that was talking about Bally's, wearing what's his name? Excuse me, Dougie Fresh, but Slick Rick talks about my Bally's on. Remember Slick Rick talks about wearing his Bally's? He said, I gotta put my Bally's on. Well, Bally's used to be a shoe store too. And it's the same logo. It's the exact same logo. But they own the shoe company or clothing company. I think Bally's was a whole clothing company. No, it was just a shoe company. But it seems written the same way, so it's got to be that same Same company. And here it used to be the Lifetime Fitnesses was all Bally's. And then I saw all them close down, and I haven't seen a Bally store, about 30 years since I've seen a Bally store. So I don't even know if they still got Bally stores or not. But Bally used to be a shooting brand, and it's the same logo, exact same way they did it then. So, but yeah, I went to my cousin that got killed in the ring, the boxing ring. My cousin Sean. I see Blazing Saddles and just reminds me of the good time I had with him. And I could just still hear him take, because my friend had about $30 worth of change, and my cousin Sean is like, take his change, because Mike passed out. And Sean was just like, take his change. I can still see her Sean. So that's it. Always brings back that fond memory of my cousin that passed. So it's always one of my favorite movies. And like there used to be people know what a Wild Irish Rose is. You could get a bottle that, shit, what did they call it? It had to be, I don't want to cap, but I want to say this thing was 4 gallons of that nasty poison. And I mean, the bottles was this high. And I'm talking about from the ground. The bottle had to be, what's that? 4 feet maybe? These bottles were huge, and they kept them in the coolers. And I mean, it was like if you imagine a guitar being big as a bottle, it was about the size of a guitar or maybe a bass, and full of Wild Irish Rose. And I don't know if people even remember them big ass bottles. I mean, this was most giant liquor wine, this cheap wine. And we took it to the drive-in. And so we're chugging this damn thing down. And we had we were drunk as hell. We were smoking hash. And again, I'm about 14, 15, and we were at the drive-ins all night. And we were sitting around, like somebody had made like a campfire. We were all sitting around passing this bottle. So we give it to this one dude. And I mean, it was still gallons. It was about 2 gallons left in it. But, we just cowboying it. And this dude turned it up, and he just threw up in the bottle. And we all beat him up. We beat him up for throwing in the bottle. But he threw up in it. He turned that bottle up. He just puked all in the bottle. We were like, man, it was still 2 gallons in there. We gave him business. It was on Sly Channel. The guy was a witness. He was so emotional. He cried, but didn't see no tears. He mentioned the date. Oh, okay. Y'all, I didn't watch that on Slides yet. Tupac mentioned in California Love that we wear Chucks and not Bally's. There you go. Yeah, that was a shoe. That was a shoe company. Yeah. Well, they sold other shoes too, but Bally's was. Let me see. Like people remember this. Like they're trying to make Adidas release Stan Smiths. They kind of look like Stan Smiths. Like Gucci, you see like a Gucci shoe, there's like a tennis shoe, like white. Bally shoe was kind of like that. You kind of had to Google it to see what Bally's was. There wasn't really tennis shoes. There's more like, well, there was tennis shoes, but kind of dress tennis shoes. Yep, not Bally's. Hey, Chubb, is that Chubb? But yep, but now it seems like they're bringing that name back. Well, I've been going 2 hours. I better do the divination before I forget. So we should be at 13 platoons, 0 cartoons, 8 tunes. We should be at 7 Uno, and we are on 4 kin. And 4 kin is seed. Okay. Seed, idea, ordering, power of growth, generative principle, sex and reproduction. And again, this is the end of a cycle. So those of you that want to push, you can peer into the south and get an extra push. That is the fractal. And then the Toltec, this is the Mayan. And then the Toltec, we have what's called Cotoplan, or lizard. It is lizard. In this card image, we see Chamala, the mythical mother of Siakoro, who was the human incarnation of Quetzalcoatl, giving birth to the spiritual leader. From her mouth, a song is coming. The rope around and above her shows the cycle of life has begun. On the top right, the lizard is protecting the process. The lizard is associated with the elements of fire, representing a Yanni and earth. Thus, the lizard represents pursuit of Yanni practices without losing connection with Earth. In other words, a Yanni's path with a down-to-earth context. Because it represents the grounded approach to magic, the lizard is a symbol of equilibrium. When you get this card as a sign, you need to look for the equilibrium that arises from cultivating both your spiritual, magical side and your practical material side with equal attention and dedication. This is what it means to live a grounded spiritual life. As the guardian of the temple and guide of the Yanni, Kupapalan calls for the ones who devote themselves to learning and developing the most basic and traditional form of Yanni. In traditional Yanni societies, the Yanni's path arose from the contemplation of the interaction with the forces of nature in a spiritual context. In this context, nature is regarded as the visible face of the Great Spirit. The basic Yanni maneuver was to initiate interaction with the forces or prasados as a means to achieve a state of heightened awareness in which the basic separation between the self and what is out there ends. It was and is the aesthetic union between the human being and Gould. The difference between the Yanni religions lies in two main factors. The first one is that the Yanni takes place in nature instead of a church. The second is that a Yanni there's no place for intermediaries or priests who wield power over others through managing people connection with the source. In the Yanni's experience, you make the connection with the spirit by yourself. In the modern Western attempt to understand Yannis, overemphasizes the role of the Yanni, has misled people to think that Yannis can be practiced by the Yanni only. The truth is that the Yanni experience is open to all the community, and the Yannis themselves are just supporters who provide space and techniques for people to participate in the Yanni experience. And this goes into kind of something I've been practicing too, because it is a lot of the same. And this is The Medicine Wheel. And this is a good book because, as I was saying, if you deal with guides, if you deal ancestors, like the best way I could tell you is one of my cousins had died. And no, let me take it back. He hadn't died. He was still in the middle place. And so I had to go find him. And I can still remember I found him south, 7 layers down. So I had to go to the south. I had to actually go so many layers in each direction. And then finally I found him. When I went south, I was 7 layers down. And I found him. And was just telling him, like, what are you going to do? You can't stay here. And he said, I know, I'm just kind of seeing where I want to go. And so I'm like, you got to make a decision. And so he went back into his body, and then he died but he went back in his body because I was telling him, like, the children, like, what are you going to do? I mean, you're not dead and you can't stay here. So you got to pick one or the other. So he lived for a few more days, and then he finally passed after his children got to see him, and he passed. And then his brother passed a year or two later. And I remember finding him just sitting on top of the terrace and just like, you were here all along? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I ain't been able to find you. But books like these have helped me understand. Okay, so when people just teach about the astros and the ethers, they don't teach you that this is a way and directional is definitely a way. It's like you can almost say directional dimensions, almost, I guess is the best way I can explain it. But people don't tell you that, and people don't teach that. This does. This teaches you the importance of each direction and how to approach it. That's what I like about this. Now, when you get into a book like this pretty much tells you how to be dead, how to prepare for it. But let me see where I can show this. Okay. So it shows two things. I'll show this first. So it shows like you're talking about real gatekeepers. These is gatekeepers. But you see how they're set in directions. They're set in directions. And so if you want to get into some shit, you might run into something like this. These are the real gatekeepers, the spiritual gatekeepers. And this is what's called disagreeable. And a lot of teachings is how to make disagreeable agreeable. And this talks about the 8 gatekeepers. Because, see, that's 2 beings. I don't know if the picture shows that justice. You see, each one is a man and a woman. You see? It's not just a man, it's a man and a woman. So these are the real gatekeepers. And they have names. Now this is the same thing called the peaceful deities. But again, if you look at directions, it's still directions. A lot of people skip this. And that's why I say to people, the problem with Islam is the energy ain't always the strongest going to the east. That's the problem. And so 3 times you are going against the natural energy. The Mayan haven't adjusted their shit to these Europeans, to Caesar's time. We live under Caesar's time. You have to understand that the calendar we live is Julius. They make you think that he just got stabbed and had nothing to do with nothing else. Cleopatra comes out of the Americas. That's an American name. They've lied and sent it to Kemet. Yeah, okay, that's all lies. Cleopatra tribe came out of America. And I shouldn't even tell this. This is time walking shit. And the real reason they killed Cleopatra because she wouldn't give up the keys to the American time. So we live under this caste from Caesar. But the Mayans didn't adjust to this. The Mayan time, that's why they were so scared of 2012, because they didn't know what the Americans was going to do to them. Because the cycle had ended. And these Europeans really thought it was going to be, even the Mir and Maya, I think, was panicking too. And the Mir and the Maya thought that this shit that's in America was going to rise up and stop and turn it around. They didn't know. They were really panicked. The machine really was panicked. Again, that goes into how they slowed time down, or they sped time up, and they put people on crack. Those kind of went together. Before then, heroin was the American drug of choice, pretty much. Al Prophet shows that in a lot of ways. You had functional people on heroin, scores, thousands. And so they wanted to, because the energy was going to change, the central sun. Again, if you get into Wes Paneri's work, he explains it beautifully. The block of this energy, the block of the Taurus constellation blocking the energy from the central sun coming to us. So they tried to push us through this. This is why a lot of people woke up between 2004, 5, 6, 8 until 12. Because they tried to push this, they was trying to push it where people wasn't getting any of this, getting anything that's coming. And so now we're in a new, again, it's 13 Batuns. You will not see a Batun change in any of our lifetimes. Anybody ever hears this, we will not live long enough to see another Batun goes. This is hundreds or tens of thousands of years. And so the Mayan calendar is going back from a million years. It counts years back in the millions. So how do you talk about these fake ass dinosaurs, Noah's Ark and all that shit when there's some shit that's down in Mexico, down in South America that shows you it was motherfuckers computing time since millions of years ago. So they have a way of giving you each a push. That's why the medicine wheel incorporates a lot of the same thing, and even the Tibetans understand directional energy. I don't know anybody else on YouTube that teaches it or talks about the importance of it. And that's why you have to always know directions. I mean, getting lost, if you know directions, it's hard to get lost. But as far as the spiritual directions, it's a way to get a push. It's a way to get a push. And so those of you that do need work with sigils, that do work with these ancestors, if you know the direction, you're going to get a little more energy, or just you want to simply manifest. If you work with this directional energy, you're getting a push in your back. and you're not going against it. And so I'm not trying to get you to believe. I'm telling you a fact of spiritualness is that exists. It's a thing. And I don't see anybody else trying to teach this. And when I talk about going to get my cousin through all these realms, that shit ain't easy. That shit is not easy. I mean, that's not an easy thing to take your energy and the energy you're expanding. It's not easy. It's like One Divineness. I was telling her when I work with chakras, it ain't just 7. It's a whole room full of globes. Like that takes a lot of energy. That's how the shit is for me. I don't really mess with that. When she put it that way, she's like, you expand a lot of energy when you do that. I didn't even think about it like that. I'm like, damn, you're kind of right. And you can be vulnerable when you open all that up. So that's why I share it. And so, you guys ask questions on a manifest. Understanding the direction of the day can help you manifest. He deserves ass whooping for that. That would make sense that we're at the end because yesterday was the last day of the month. Yeah, kind of. It coincides, kind of. But it's a refresher because when the end of 4 days, and the beautiful thing about the way Jose Aguirre mentions it, he actually puts a little more, he tries to break down so people can understand it. And so he looks at the first 4 as development of the primary being. The next one is development of the higher being. And he gives counts of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 counts of 8. And then he gives development of fulfillment, development of okay. So he puts I'm misreading. So he gives development of a primary being, generative stage, fulfillment stage, and that. But he also breaks it down as to cycle family of the east. He calls it cycle family of the north, cycle family of the west. So it's like you can work with this stuff to manifest. That's my point. And it gives you a push. I guess that's the easiest I could say it. That's the easiest I could say it is people will get a push from this. So you want to manifest, you can keep track of this yourself. I mean, you ain't ain't nothing to believe. It's just something to practice. And you can get, this is for everybody, the Mayan calendar. And it'll give you the date and it'll give you the direction. It's called the long count. And it gives you the date and gives you the direction. And it gives you the night god, which they've Christianized even that. Like you get Solomon's Temple books, and it tells you, like I was talking to One Divineness, and it tells you, like, because Samuel is Baal, and it's also another name for Marduk. So, but days that, so the way it works, that they do it is, in the Solomon Keys, is each god has a given day. It's gods for every hour. And that kind of goes into this, but every hour of the day you can call upon an angel. And that angel can give you a slight push. They copy this system because the Mayan system has the same thing. It's Mayan gods' names, but just to simplify the American thinking, you can look at whose name. It's like, even just to make it simple. So this is how simple it could be. You want to play the lottery. You look at what God's name is the hour you went to go play your ticket. You can sit there, you know the direction of the day, and you want to manifest. You go during certain such and such God's hour, and you make an intention with that being. You can use the sigils however you want to do it. You make an intention with that being, and you go play your number. You come back, you can put the number in the sigil, and that's kind of how you can do it to simplify how you would use it. That ain't the only way it can be used, but I'm just saying to simplify it. So that's a way you can use it. It looks like half the people dropped off. They're like, we don't want to hear this. This is poison to our ears. But that's okay. This shit ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. That's the point. When things happen with my family, it's a lot of work. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. It's like I was telling my brother, my stepfather had some siblings that passed. And, I found them and I'm like, I can't do the work for them. I told my brother this. I'm like, there's a stickiness to them. They're not accepting where they're at. And I was like, I can't do it. You're going to have to do it. And I'm like, so he's like, okay. I was like, it's just, there's something sticking there and I can't risk me going and getting caught into that. I'm like, you have to probably do it. But they're there and they're waiting. And so he had to make sure they passed. Now, when my mother's brother died, my uncle, this stone showed me the path because I couldn't understand where this. I was like, why is this showing up? And then it's like, oh, then he passed a week or so later. And I'm like, oh, that was for him. So it was already there. All he had to do was go through it. And the last time I saw him is he looked back and smiled at me and he went right in there. So it wasn't no light. It was actually like a garden is the way I would describe it. It was a type of garden where he just had to follow the garden path. No light. Wasn't go to the light, Bobby, go to the light. It was nothing like that. And that's the part of spirituality. You have to be consistent. It's like you just have to be consistent with it. And I follow this. Even if I don't come on, I still follow this stuff. I mentally know the date and I still follow it. The dance, the Harlem Shake, not that viral stuff, but the one that came from Harlem. Did you know that dance came from a crackhead in Harlem at the Rutgers tournament? I know what you're talking about. I hadn't put that together. I hadn't put that together, but I know exactly who you're talking about. Wow. And dances is never new. Like they do the dance now where you're on one leg and you kind of put your leg out and in, and then you bend over and put your leg out and in. I was trying to show my daughter that because, my daughter's around all these Europeans and I'm like trying to teach her how to talk and I'm trying to teach her the dances because that's what you're supposed to do. And I was trying to show my son, he's like, oh, he told me the name of the dance, but it's a dance where you dance on one leg and kind of, and I love watching dancing. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about. I never would have put that together before. Wow, Lorenzo, I know who you're talking about. I never put that together. But a lot of things come from something like that. Like the boy that should have made a lot of money if he'd have copyrighted what he said. Because when they were showing when crack hit New York, because when crack hit California, they wasn't giving a lot of national publicity. But they interviewed this boy. And the boy was like, again, they bought him crack and he had a brand new crack pipe and, the lighter. Matter of fact, he was using the butane, but he was smoking crack. He wasn't smoking base. He was smoking crack. And she's like, well, now this is how fucked up. They go buy you some crack and then they ask you to smoke it while they're on camera. And so he's young. This dude is like 14, 15. And he said, I smoke it 24/7. And the lady was like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? He said, I smoke crack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that was the first time anyone ever heard that saying. And if that boy would have been smart and somebody around him had been smart, he'd have copyrighted that. He could have made a lot of money. It's like, Pat Riley, that is the president of Miami Heat. He owns the song Happy Birthday. Now, we was talking about Bozo as a child. Bozo did Happy Birthday every day. A lot of shows would sing Happy Birthday, TV shows. You can't sing Happy Birthday on television anymore unless you pay Pat Riley because he copyrighted it. No one had ever thought to copyright it. I mean, those that are old enough to remember Bozo did birthdays every day. You watched old shows before Pat Riley didn't copyright it until like in the 80s. But up until the 80s, till he got that big bread coaching, you saw television shows where they would sing Happy Birthday to people on television shows. Watch an old black and white show where around the birthday comes. And that's a spell. I mean, that's some fucked up spell we do on each other. You're talking about a hex. You light candles and you circle a person. Don't do that to your children. You see that shit, break that circle. But that's a hex. You circle a person, you light candles, and you put them in the middle and you always chant the same chant. You see how demonic that is? That's evil witchcraft. And I'm not going to say evil wicked. That's wicked because you are hexing a child, a young person. That's what we do. And it's good that that shit's off, but that's what we do. Everybody circles around. I'm sure anybody ever listens to me, you've done it. You light the candles and everybody circles around and you chant the same thing, the same way, the same vibration. That's a no-no. Don't do that. Do not do that to your family. Do not do that to a baby. Do not do that to a child. Yeah, Pat Riley copywrote the Happy Birthday song in the 80s. And you saw it go away. People didn't want to pay. So you saw it go away on television. You saw commercials. You see commercials of birthdays. You don't see them singing Happy Birthday anymore because they have to pay. So if you see it sing on television, which you don't, they don't sing it anymore. Used to see it all the time. But Bozo's Big Top did every day. And I think by the time, Bozo probably went off in the late 70s. Bozo came on when TV damn near came on. But yeah, that's what it is. It's a spell. It's a spell. It's a hex. So I do it now, break the circle. You see that shit? Break the circle. Step out the circle. And I mean, really step out of it. And try to move people as much as you can to break that because it's putting a negative energy on that person. And it's an enchantment. It's worse than an enchantment. It's a negative enchantment. It's not, you're not wishing the person to grow. Now, I know some people say it's all about attention. Kind of, yeah. It is about attention. I agree. Time is it? Okay, I'll go a little longer. It's all about intention, though. And I know that's what some people would argue. Well, it's just about intention. It's just a party. Where does this come from? Where do you think they get that from? How long do you think they've been doing that? Again, what do they teach you? Like the Goetia is all American energies. They came over here, and the first thing they do is they try to lock our gods away. And the one way they do that is by circling, putting locks on the shit. So what do they tell you? I got a witch book I can bring you right here. I met the cat. Forgot to get him to sign it. But that's what they tell you to do. They tell you to circle the shit, call out the sigil, and bring the motherfucker up and have a binding. Why do they need a binding spell? If this was something for them, why would they need to bind it? Well, you bring this demon up and you can't control it and it might destroy you. Destroy you. Why would the demon be mad? Why would he be mad? Because he's bound. That's why he's fucking mad. So, but there's an energy that they're afraid of. No doubt they're afraid of. And I read the book that there's a war going on. People that are on our side that's trying to release this stuff. And they hate Solomon. That's one thing Rambo made me see. They hate Solomon. That's why they did the 9/11 with the towers knocking down. They wanted to get rid of this Solomon energy. They fear Solomon. And they say Solomon can control armies. They fear that energy. They do not like the Solomon energy. And that's what the 9/11 was for, to try to get rid of that energy. But they fear that. They fear that. So there's something there that probably could tear all this apart. That's why they put the rapture for them. The rapture for them is them not being in control. They want us to think that if they ain't in control, it's the end of everything. That's how they look at this shit. If they're not in control, that's the end of it all. Not that if they're not in control, it would be better for the people. That's what it is. If that shit comes to get them motherfuckers, that's better for the people. But they want us spooked to that. And this book, I don't read much fantasy. I just don't. I don't really get into it. But I read the books call me. And I read this shit where it's the war. And It seems like if this shit gets released on their ass, it'll destroy the machine, because that's probably what it took before to destroy the machine. The machine was destroyed by one of our civilizations. In some kind of way, the machine, like American Gods tell you, the machine was put to sleep. And it has something to do with Marduk that brought the machine back out. And that extension, I think, got it right. And so we live under the machine. So the beast is the machine. The beast, what would be released is going to be shit that fucks up the machine. Because we live in an illusion. This is an illusion. You ain't really seeing me right now. I ain't really talking into this computer. This is all simulated. And if anything that I've learned from studying quantum and studying this system is the universe itself will not go into multiplicities. That is the machine. Only the machine can do that. Only the machine will, you go down the path and you can kind of look into all the paths. That's what they don't tell you. You can take a couple steps and like, well, damn, I see this, and then back out and take a couple steps. That's the machine. The machine has to know all thoughts. It has to know all ideas. That's the cloud shit. Bomber gets into that a little bit, talking about the cloud and why the cloud, why all thoughts, what would need all thoughts? A fucking computer would need all thoughts, all ideas. A lot of Chinese see through this racial. Can you create spells? Let me see, it's true when you think about it. Can you create spells by putting frequency into messages through a phone, whether in words or emojis? I'll answer that. Yeah, Rocky, you're right. Yeah, they see through it. Like I mentioned, these Hmongs ain't tripping here. I think they call it medic magic. Okay, back to your question. Can we create spells by putting frequency into messages through phone, whether in words or emojis? Yeah, well, simplistic ones, I'll say simplistics ones you can. Again, the basics hertz is a different hertz that's really not for us. I think we're into what, 440, some shit like that, when it should have been 443, or actually listening more to the perfect fifth. And we really don't. So yes and no. Emoji could be a type of cast. Yeah, it's easy to cast. I swear. Swear for God. Swear for God. That's a cast. Swear for God. Yeah, so it's we cast a lot. Words in general are cast. This is what they taught us. This is what the Europeans taught us. They taught us to constantly cast. Like the card I just showed language. Again, we didn't, when you go into these realms, you ain't talking. They ain't talking to you. That goes away. That goes away. Ain't no talking. Like if you're dealing with your guides, you are not talking to them. You sit there and you're in a state where you're in. Again, I'm gonna just teach the hallways because I want to go where they can't really go. They don't really fuck with this star stuff. And you come into beings, they ain't talking to you. They're telepathy. They're giving you what you're hearing is showing you everything. So when they communicate with you, they're showing you everything. It's putting your mind what they're talking about. It's not words. It's not cast, because words are cast. This is the lowest way of talking. Animals don't need to do this shit. It's like that book I just read about consciousness and the Darwinism. He doesn't explain how a monkey on one part of the world can learn a new trick and a monkey on the other part of the world can do this trick. That's non-locality. See, he's stuck into Darwinism, and this book I just read, he's talking about putting the goddamn consciousness in the machine. That's his aim. Through Darwinism, putting the consciousness in the machine from Darwinism. That's what this book was about. It was a waste of my time, wasting my money. But yet I understand what he's talking about. He wants to start from Darwinism and push consciousness into the me or the mind. So we are local beings. Some do if it's passed by a family member. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, spells is so easy to spell. It's so easy. That's the thing. It's English in general is a spelling language. It's a blocking spiritual language. I think Bomber called it the Brothers Grimm. It's that. Um, um, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jumped under the candlestick. I mean, this kind of shit is, I mean, the way you rhythmic say this stuff, you know, I mean, how does quantum of science says this? How does that shit last? How do anybody know that? Humpty Dumpty fell on a wall. Why does everybody know that? No matter your age, how do you know that shit? Why is that memorable? Because it's cast through the ages. It's a way to show you the cast. But it's something that shouldn't be remembered at all. Hickory dickory dock. And look what they're doing to the Dr. Seuss stuff. They don't want people to keep repeating it. Because that might be a way to outbind this shit, the way Dr. Seuss taught it. Who's trying to get rid of it now? Dr. Seuss put a different rhythm. And Dr. Seuss is worth remembering. And they don't want you remembering that pattern. They want you to remember that Humpty Dumpty shit. Row, row, row your boat. They want you to remember that shit. My actual guides would never. Yeah, there you go, normalize. So why is this shit known? I mean, even singing the happy birthday hex. What was it about that went through the ages? Why did they stick on that one? Shit, and that ring around the rosy shit, I mean, everybody should know that shit's talking about when they killed all the black folks in Europe. Black plague. What is it telling you? How do they go from the black plague in dark ages? Why the dark ages? I mean, they don't want you to know that folks lived all over the world. It wasn't just black folks in Africa, it was black folks everywhere, melanated people everywhere. But history doesn't want you to think about that. A lot of the art survived. And you can even go into the Renaissance was whitewashing shit. You can look at some of them pictures where the people got their hands is dark, but their faces is pale. Look at some of them pictures. The hands be dark, but the faces be pale. Like one of my great uncles. He basically is my complexion. You look at his Civil War picture, his face is dark. I mean, dark. It's like, who is this? But it's like they made him look darker. Because if you look at all the other people of the 55th, and this captain is doing the hidden hand. But if you looked at it, it was the motherfucker trying to sell that shit. We had to check a motherfucker for trying to sell this shit. Because Ism Ampy, which is my great uncle. No, my great uncle. And George would have been my great grandfather. Yeah, so two greats. Yeah. My grandmother's father, my grandmother's grandfather. Yeah, so my grandmother's uncle was in the Civil War. And you see his pictures, and a lot of my family's like, I don't see anything wrong with it. But I'm like, we got other pictures of this dude. This dude never looked like this. He never looked like this. Maybe I can find this shit. See if I can find this shit quickly. Because sometimes I put pictures of my family and when I put my thumbnails in. Let me see if I can show you a picture of Islam that I'm talking about. But it's like, obviously they blackened me. Maybe it's screenshots. See if I can find Ism quickly. Okay, here we go. All right. This is the person. Let me get the thing out. The glare out. Maybe if I turn this one off. All right. The guy here. Let me see. Oh, there he is. The guy with because my stuff splits like that too. The guy on top is my great grandfather in the Civil War. This is the person that was actually in the 55th, right there. With the chin beard split. My stuff grows just like that. I look more like him than the person on top, but all of us have the person on top's eyes. That's George. This is Ism. Now, This is his Civil War picture. And this is a Civil War picture. Look at his hands compared to his face. It's not this. They darkened him. And I'm not tripping. And then look at this cat. This is their captain. Look at him doing the hidden hand. He's a Mason. But we caught somebody trying to sell this shit. You can't sell this shit. And then this is George Ampey. That is my great-great-grandfather that was also in the Civil War. All of us had his eyes. Almost all of my children have eyes like that, except my son Brenton. He has his mother's side of the family. But I look more like him. I have that nose. And my beard grows just like that. It's a split right here. And this is my great-great-grandfather as he's older. And I've been to the house where he lived. My cousin still lives in the house. They redid it. But he was in the Civil War. That's George Washington Ampey. So it just shows you how they try to do shit. Oh, and this cat, George Washington Ampey, he actually grew tobacco in Michigan. He grew tobacco in Michigan. He was born in Virginia, I think. Yeah, Ism, I look a lot like Ism. I wish I had better pictures, but I took that look more than I took George's look. George didn't have a pronounced nose. His nose was a little different. But Ism and I have the same nose. And we know where these cats is buried, where he buried, where their mother's buried. We got all that, Where George is buried, his wife died, his wife died young. And he had to raise 4 boys, 4 boys on his own. She died fairly young. She died in her 40s. I think late 30s, early 40s. And he raised 3 boys on his own. With my grandfather going to Michigan State. With my great-grandfather going to Michigan State. But I look like them both. And we still friends with all the families. That's his line. That's my line. And that's he's buried. Our family cemetery is in Lawton. Our cousin Kelly of my generation is buried there. She got killed. I don't know how she got permission to be buried there, but she's buried there too. Where all them, I've been where they're buried. Dicey was born in North Carolina. She's buried there as well. James Ampey disappeared. He's probably murdered, and they never found his body, but he just disappeared. And that's the person this Wanapaka that goes all the way to Boston. James was actually kidnapped. He inherited a big part of Boston, and he got kidnapped. And I've told this story many times. He went to Tobago, and this is where my brother's a master researcher, but he found this. He goes to Tobago, he comes back, he marries Dicey. In Phoenix, I know we've had our disagreements, Sister Phoenix, but Phoenix put her in there. It's like Dicey is not a European name. Dicey's not a European name. So, well, guys, I think I've gone long enough. It's 2:43. I can't do no more. And so I will be back, but look for me earlier. I would say if you're East Coast, 10:30-ish, because she always hits me when she's not ready. She called me earlier, and I know what she called me for. She's like, have everybody ready. So those of you that didn't go, be fair now. We know I got a list on who went before, so be fair. The people that didn't get to ask questions of her, you go first. Have your questions in mind so we can go faster. And it's not fast, but we can just, we can get it more orderly. So if she needs some feedback, you guys got to give the feedback. So if you ask a question and she needs some feedback, it is a delay between me and you. It's a delay. So you kind of got to put your feedback out there. So make sure you put your feedback. So those of you who are interested, come up with your questions tonight, write them down, and then give them to her. And if she needs feedback, everybody will hold until you answer. And we know it's a delay, so so she'll come back on. So she's trying to do her own thing, and I ain't got no problem helping her. I have no problem helping her. So, well, thank you very kindly. And again, this has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am your host. 8-Win is timeless. And as you know, I always give Eshawn's poem. And so I'm not a New York rapper or a LA gang banger. I'm just an old school Detroit crack slinger. I make more money. My pockets are like sunshine. They're always sunny. I'll never get taken into the pearly gates of heaven. That's why I'm here on this earth, I'm going to carry 2 357s. So this has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am your host. 8-Win is timeless. Thank you all. Till we meet again.